What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to the Boys Crypto Show the night before the key FOMC interest rate cut/hike decision by Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. Just getting everything opened up here. Super excited to be here with you guys tonight. It's going to be super fun. Going on over into the altcoins, diving on into the hottest setups in the game. I was away yesterday, was at a family event, but I appreciate y'all's understanding. And here we are on this Tuesday night, bringing you the hottest action of the evening. So now here we are. We had today the U.S. trade deficit coming in a little worse than expected, about $3 billion. Not a big deal. The market didn't respond too heavily to that at 8:30 a.m. The big thing everybody's waiting for, and you can see this with the volume in the stock market and in crypto in general, that the volume is so low, and everybody's waiting on 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Fed Chairman Jerome Powell to come out and not only make the decision for interest rate cuts, which is likely going to be nothing, right? There's no surprise there. And, you know, we're going to be listening to this press conference that happens at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I may even go live for that, depending on how the market's reacting. Are we going to be in a crazy FOMO environment, or are we going to get a massive sell-off? You know, it's hard to call right now. If we did get obviously if we got an interest rate cut when nobody's expecting one, we're going to get a massive pump to the moon. You know, I just posted this on my Twitter, right? A textbook bull div, right? Just for those of you who don't know what bullish divergence is, you know, you have a swing up on your RSI where you have a swing down on price action suggesting you break this high before breaking this low. And this is just looking at SUI here, and boom, we did just put out a long for SUI on RX. For those of you who do not follow here, sitting right at entry. For those of you who do not follow, this is the long that we put out, 3x leverage, you know, coming here with a stop at 275, a key demand zone we're sitting on right now for SUI, and we're sitting right at the entry point where we got into this trade, or just below the entry point where we got into this trade. It did have a little bit of a sell-off, had a little bit of a sell-off to the downside, but SUI pumping massively right now. So we'll see how that trade ends up, and that's on the, 4-hour time frame. So you're getting really high and tight in this flag. I want to see, we have 2 hours left. Let's see if we can get a daily close above 326. That would be key. Why? Because that's the daily 200 SMA. If we could stay above the daily 200 SMA as the 21 comes into price action, that'll feel really, really good to me for SUI. So that's what I'm looking at. What a nice 5-minute candle there for SUI as we start pushing back up to test these 200 MAs. Broke through the one. You guys know, if you follow this channel, you break through the 1 minute 200 SMA, you're playing 200 MA dominoes, baby, to the upside. The 1 minute will come and likely meet the 3 minute. Testing the 3 minute right now. We break through the 3 minute, we'll come to the 5, test the 5. Then we'll do the 7 to 15 to 30, and then so on and so forth to the upside until you get into like blue skies breakout territory where you're above all 200 SMAs, and you can break to the upside and start violently ripping from there. But that's SUI kind of in a nutshell, just something I've been looking at, and the only active leverage trade I have going on at the time. Let's dive on in here to Bitcoin getting a massive move here just in the last few minutes. Bitcoin pumping massively here to the upside, about a $1,000 pump here for BTC, about 1% in the last about 5 minutes or so. That is a massive candle for Bitcoin here on the 5 minute. There may have been some kind of news or something that comes out. Very few candles are this size on the 5 minute time frame. That is very, very exciting. So we'll dive on in. Hey, Sin Nasty Kid, Michaela, and Wanda, thank you guys for being here and jumping on in the chat nice and early. Super happy that each and every single one of you guys are here. This is going to be an immaculate week this week. I'm so hyped, man. Every time Fed Chairman Jerome Powell comes out, afterwards, the trading environment definitely, after that volatility, the trading environment definitely starts becoming a little more favorable. And, I think Bitcoin's in a spot right now, to where, as long as we stay where we are, we're in good shape. And we may pump into the FOMC. We may dump a little bit, but ultimately at the end of the day tomorrow, I expect us to be around $95,000, $96,000, around where we are right now. I think there's going to be a lot of chop city. I think there's going to be a big liquidity hunt, and then we end up right where we are, and then we may continue that journey to the upside. I also am tracking Bitcoin dominance, and I know, baby. Hey, Sin Nasty Kid, I don't blame you, man. I'm in SUI as well. I'm in soon as well. Just opened that 3X long over here on X, man. I was just going over that. I don't know if you hopped in on the stream beforehand or not. But yeah, this looks like a juicy setup to me. We had a nice, it's about 15, 16% correction. I know what people are saying, oh, it could correct to 20, 25. I know, but this is the hottest asset, right, in the game right now. I think it's making immaculate partnerships. The 4-hour 200 SMA is going to meet at this stop loss area. We crack below the 4-hour 200 SMA, and it's going to be some trouble for Sui. That's not what we want to see. What I'm expecting for Sui here, is a massive surge to the upside. And, you know, I did want to do this. I actually haven't done this yet, but, I kind of got some speculation going. I wanted to compare, let's see this here. I wanted to compare this here on the futures chart, Solana perpetuals. I wanted to compare this here and see how Sui, So this is Sui's price action, right, comparatively to Solana. On the pumps, we had a much more massive move to the upside. I want to see how we could pull a fractal here. But I'm gonna do some diving into that, see how we could get this overlaid on Trading View. But I think Sui's gonna be the big play of this bull market, and I could not pass up a Sui at about $3.25. I think the prices now are very fair comparatively. I think we had just a minor pullback. Let me get out of this. Good night. I think we had just a minor pullback off the highs. That's okay. That's natural, right? We're not going to chase those green candles. You chase these green candles and you're underwater and along here. I really think that this is the area where you want to start accumulating Sui. Why? Well, I'm basing that off of the fib pull from this reaction zone right here, coming down into the golden pocket and getting a beautiful reaction. We got the 706 reaction, dipped a little beneath that, and now we're starting to push out of that golden pocket, sitting at 325 right now. I think this is going to be a very key area for Sui to maintain. Not only that, we have some massive bullish divergences screaming in the chart on the 1 hour. I think I saw it on the 4 hour as well. I did see it on the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, massive bullish divergence here for Sui as you have that swing down in price action. While you have a swing up on the RSI, I think, and the reason I'm going into Sui, man, I just think this is the hottest project in the game. I think a lot of the altcoins are really going to struggle. I think a lot of the altcoins are going to massively underperform comparatively to what people think will happen. But right here, I think, you know, you could go based off of candle body closures and put this at the bottom of the candle right here. But I like going with the wicks on bullish divergence, right? So this suggests that you crack the high here up at about 349 prior to cracking the low here at about 311, which, you know, wasn't even that long ago. That was 45 minutes ago at 311. So that would have represented the most juiciest opportunity to get into Sui. I think we're sitting at very, very fair prices right now. And I think you're about to get the reversal back to the upside. I see Sui heading to $11, $12 here in the very near term. I could see it happening by July. When these things start taking off, they do not come back they hardly do any retraces. They'll do 382 retraces if an asset is super bullish. Let's pull a fib here from the swing low to the high and see where we're sitting at. We're coming down to that 382, which is at about 306, and looks like it even got front ran a little bit there. There is buying pressure as evidence there with the wicks, the daily 200 SMA. We're sitting above. I love where Sui's sitting right now, and I know I've seen a lot of charts saying we're coming back to 280, we're coming back to down. Well, our stop loss is below that level, right? And I know that's not what we're saying. I just know that these assets have the tendency to pump when nobody's paying attention and when everybody's waiting for lower levels. If you're trying to get in at 280, right? Why were you not getting in with the Boys Crypto family down here at this 240 region? You know, before we had this massive takeoff. So, you know, I'm trying to build a leverage position here. I don't think we're going to be seeing these prices down here. 250s again? No, I don't see that. I think 280 is as low as we go. So I had to jump on in here and start scaling into a position. If we start going lower, I'll layer into that 3x leverage position. But I don't expect this going much lower than where we sit right now. We have some massive bullish divergence. I wouldn't be surprised if we wake up and we're staring at a $3.40, $3.50 Sui, you know, tomorrow morning. I think that is very, very likely. So we have to talk about tomorrow, everybody. We gotta talk about tomorrow. Hey, thanks for everybody for blowing up the chat. Do me a favor, if you guys haven't done it so already, please hit that like button. It really does help me out a lot. Hey, I want to give a shout out to you guys. Michaelis and Nasty Kid, thanks guys. I appreciate you. April, Christoph, what's going on? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. Do I still believe in altcoin season coming soon? I do, and here's why I'm saying that, Christoph. I have to say it, brother. I have to say it. Look, I know a lot. I know a lot of analysts here on YouTube, and I watch other analysts. I do. I watch other analysts, see what other people are putting out there, right? And you know, I have to say this. I'm gonna jump on the wagon. I will, and it's not. I will. Given a certain scenario, we've had. Look at this. How many charts do you guys see this where you have 10 weekly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the 10th weekly green candle for Bitcoin dominance. I don't think that's happened in Bitcoin's history. I don't think it has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That has to be a record. How many times do you guys see 10 weekly green candles here in a row? I think that was the record. I don't think you've ever seen that before. You've seen 10 red ones. Maybe, but 10 green, that's pretty crazy. Did you have it here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You had the 10th one right there, so that's interesting. Okay, here's what I'm thinking, Christoph, and I'm gonna give it to you straight, man. I'm not gonna beat around the bush with you. I'm gonna tell you where I think altcoin season is beginning. Right, so we're coming up to a key area right here, and I'm looking at this on the macro, right? And I don't see anybody else looking at this on this chart. Lily, what's going on? Thanks for being here. I don't see anybody else looking at this chart, this giant, and we go over this every day. And the reason I go over this every day, man, is because it's screaming at me in the face. I've never seen a chart that has been this textbook, this textbook on the bigger time frames in a long time on hardly any asset. So, and we're not looking at assets in regards to prices or anything right now. We're looking at Bitcoin and the market share that it holds, right? And you could chart that just like you chart any price. I am staring at an inverted cup and handle coming up to the resistance point here in the face. And you know, I have to see this as we've made a lower high, a lower low. Where's that lower high likely to come in? It's likely on the macro, right? When you're looking at the monthly chart, you can see it a little clearer when you're looking at the monthly. So if you're looking at the monthly and you're trading this, pretend this was the 1 minute chart, right? And I know that's weird, pretend, right? Pretend. But the 1 minute is the same as the weekly, is the same as the yearly, right? They're all the same and all of them interact the same exact way regardless of the time frame. So here's what I'm looking at. You have toasted RSI, right? RSI is severely overbought on the monthly. On the weekly, it is overbought on the weekly. You're overbought on the daily. We were making bearish divergence right there. Since then, getting invalidated on the daily. But the bigger idea I'm looking at right here, I'm looking for a harsh rejection. Something to the effect of this candle right here. This giant wick we had up to the resistance line. And that rejection was very, very severe. From here, you had a little toppling in Bitcoin dominance of about 5% in a single day. I think we're coming up on a day/weekend that is likely going to happen. It's going to catch everybody off guard. And I know the uptrend has been intact for 2 years. That's true, but we can't ignore the fact that we're coming up to this inverted cup and handle 618, 786, not the 618, but the 786. Retrace. This historically has been a level where price action loves to reject, where you like to form that first lower high in a series, right? If we're going to get the lower high out of this inverted cup and handle, you could be looking at the perfect entry on some of your altcoins here. Now, I know what you're thinking. Boys Crypto, that's only 1% away. Can we turn around right now? The answer is yes. I think the 786 has a very, very high probability of getting front ran, right? And I think the altcoins are about to make a massive move. Now, with that being said, I can't ignore the uptrend of 2 years. And this, to me, is that line in the sand, that 786 sitting at about 66.16. If we get a weekly candle body closure above this level, you're gonna see me really, really quickly turn into a Bitcoin maxi and shift my perspective on a lot of these altcoins to being like, do we really? I know no one wants to hear this, but do we really need them? Do we need Ethereum? Do we need even the top 10 coins? Do we need SUI? Do we need these, new layer 1 projects, layer 2s? Do we need Jupiter? Do we need decentralized exchange? Do we need them? I know we need Bitcoin, but I can't say that for sure, like with all the other altcoins. So to me, this is the line in the sand with the altcoins. If you do not reject here, you're looking at coming up here and testing these highs at about 72%. You break that, and to me, if you break that, if you see a massive pumpage on Bitcoin dominance, I think that could be bear market territory, because that's what's going to happen during a bear market. Bitcoin's going to collapse. right? And historically, we've never had Bitcoin, besides back here, historically, we've never had Bitcoin collapsing while altcoin dominance is altcoins are skyrocketing. It just doesn't happen. And could anything change? Absolutely. But right now, with monetary policy and where we stand, and with the tariffs and the uncertainty in the economy, I find it really hard to believe that altcoins will pump when Bitcoin's dumping. Look at the bubbles, right? There's a reason. Wow, look at that reaction. That looks very, very good. That's cool in the 4 hour, because just 15 minutes ago, this was blood red across the board. But look at this. So Bitcoin had a green day today, did it not? Bitcoin on the daily did have a green day, up 0.5%, but the altcoins are still struggling. Bitcoin dominance on the daily. Look at this daily candle, completely eviscerating everything, like just screaming. This is an all-time high for Bitcoin dominance in the past 2 years. So yes, Christoph, I know it's I kind of beat around the bush, man, but I wasn't trying to beat around the bush. But yes, brother, I think altcoin season's right around the corner. How many people call altcoin season right here? Not many people were calling for it. I'll tell you that right here. When you crack that previous high, yeah, nobody thought that the next week you'd start altcoin season, or that week you would start altcoin season. I'm telling you, man, this 786 is the line in the sand for me. That's what I'm seeing. It is a key resistance of this inverted cup and handle channel, and I think we're destined for some downside here in the near term with Bitcoin dominance. Anything could happen, man. Anything could happen. But to me, that 786 is key. You start closing above that 786 at the 66.16 level. I'm not taking off. I'm not. My spot portfolio may go 100% Bitcoin for the time being. For the time being, that is true. Right now, it's about 80-20, but it'll go. I have no problem. Liquidating altcoins and shifting over into Bitcoin, right, if we lose the 786. Why? Because I'm minimizing my risk to the downside, and with Bitcoin dominance pumping, I know I'll be able to get a lot more altcoin for my money if the event that this does keep moving up. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin dominance. You have insane bear div here on the weekly that has been forming, man. Like, you've had bear div, and it just got invalidated on the weekly. Look at that swing up as the RSI swings down. You need a rollover here. The stochastics are pinned at the top on the weekly RSI. I'm looking for a turnaround for Bitcoin dominance, brother. I think it can happen. I think it can happen soon. And that's why I have my altcoin positions right now, because if I'm right, we will have caught the bottom. We will have caught the bottom of the alts before they go on this crazy alt season, which I think could be insane. I really do. And I know no other analyst is going to say this, man, but look at this cup and handle. You break this down, you could come down to a 30% Bitcoin dominance if the super cycle takes off and we're no longer in that 4-year cycle again, and Bitcoin starts roaring up to that $150,000, $200,000 region, and we're at a 30% Bitcoin dominance. You could see a 6, 7, 8x on a lot of the top 100s. It could happen. Anything could happen in crypto, right? It's true. This dump right here led to some of the biggest gains back here in 2021, and I'm speculating on something like that happening again, Christoph. Thanks for the question, brother. I think it's inevitable. I think altcoin season is coming very soon, but that thesis gets broken. I'm telling you, if this, then this, right? Right now, I have my altcoins positioned for a run to the upside, a monumental alt season like we've never seen before. However, I'm going to mark this level on my chart, right? And I pull this fib every single day to make sure it's as accurate as possible, right? I'm going to mark this level on my chart, and I'm going to get rid of that. This level right here, man, we start closing candles above there. That's a warning sign for me, and that's going to tell me, hey, boys, crypto, it's safer. Even if we're going to head into a bear market or something like that, I'd rather hold Bitcoin through the bear than any altcoin. I'll tell you that. Any altcoin, especially the altcoins that have pumped recently massively, right? Things that have 3, 4, 5x, right, from their blows. I'm talking about HBAR, XRP, things of that nature, things that have shown relative strength that have a large portion of the market cap. Those have a lot of, there's a lot more downside risk. And if this cracks, those assets, I believe, are going to take a lot more. I'm talking like XCN. I'm just naming things off the dome, right? Things that are sitting at their highs when there's a lot of altcoins sitting at their bear market lows have a substantial risk to the downside, especially if this chart breaks to the upside and breaks this 2-year long resistance channel that we've had. I think it's very, very, very likely that we get altcoin season here. And we're at the line, man. We're at the line. We start closing candles about 66. We get the 67% on Bitcoin dominance on the weekly, and we close there. I'm all in Bitcoin, man. I'm going to Bitcoin, and I'll hold Bitcoin through the bear market. I don't care. I'll hold Bitcoin through the bear market. This is a long-term plan for me, man. This is my plan to retire to retire early. That is my plan with Bitcoin. I think this is a multi-million-dollar asset in the making. My purpose of having altcoins is to use them to sell at the highs and accumulate more Bitcoin that I did not have before. I use the altcoins as a tool to accumulate more Bitcoin, man. So that's where I'm sitting at. That's what I think when it comes to the altcoin market. I think we can see that monumental alt season. And look back here, man. This just shows you the paramount of alt season right here. This 10% drop was that period in November, and you could go to any altcoin you want under the sun. Like, let's pull up. What do you want to look at? Back in November, what pump, Matt? Let's look at Solana. Anything but Ethereum, essentially, right? Anything but Ethereum. Look back here. Where's November? November. This was the November pump a lump, baby. This was the November pump a lump. We got into here, Donald Trump getting the presidency, and you had that massive moonshot. This was 65% for Sol, one of the leading coins in the market. That's 65% on a top 10 coin. That is no joke. If you want to look at anything, let's say what's a coin outside of the top 10? Let's look at Aerodrome, right? Aerodrome, and this has been tweeted about a lot. I know this reached up near 70 cents since pulling back into a region of interest that we've seen, right? Back here to this region, got that bounce. Super cool. That previous support resistance flip coming back. It was resistance, right? Support, resistance coming back down, but that's not what I wanted to look at. What I wanted to look at is back here in November. November was this period of time for the altcoins where a lot of them ran 75, 80, 90, 100% on a 10% drop for Bitcoin dominance. So what's different between now and November? So November, Bitcoin was sitting at $60,000 and now we're sitting close to 100. It has almost doubled in size. If we get even a comparable drop in Bitcoin dominance, you could see some of these altcoins move like you've never seen them before. That's why I have to be in alts right now, man. I have to be exposed to altcoins because the risk to reward is too great. If this pumps another 2%, right, and Bitcoin steals 2% of my money from the altcoins, I'll take that hit. But what is the upside I'm looking at, right? What is the upside I'm looking at? And if I was to put this in a trade perspective, I'll be looking for a short here, right? A short above that 786 level, right? And if I was taking that, I'd take it right there and take it all the way down to a high volume node. This would represent an 8-to-1 risk reward ratio trade that I would take any day of the week looking to catch that top. I think this is likely the area where Bitcoin dominance turns around, and seeing that 8-to-1, I'm like, man, if even one of my altcoins performs the way I expect it to, that means at the end of the altcoin season, I'll have in Bitcoin terms more Bitcoin. As Bitcoin rises, I want to be worth more Bitcoin, not dollars. I want to be worth more Bitcoin, if that makes sense, right? So if I can accumulate more Bitcoin, an asset that I think is going to multi-millions of dollars, that's going to pay me massive dividends over the course of my life. So I have a long-term approach when it comes to that, and I'm using the altcoins as a tool, just something I want to keep on your radar, brother. I appreciate you dropping on in the chat and asking that question. I'm going to refresh the chat here. Yeah. All right. Hey, I appreciate each and every single one of you guys being here. Hey, tomorrow is going to be a big day. I know it looks like I'm texting. I'm not. I promise. I'm just repulling up the chat. I got to figure out how to do this on my computadora, baby. On my computadora. Hey, I appreciate all of you guys watching in here tonight. All right. So we should go to 368. Sin Nasty Kid thinks had a very nice long on Sui 2 days ago. Yeah, I think Sui's the next man. I'm telling you. I think this thing's going to move like Solana. I really do think that. I think this thing, and now we're above our entry where we got in on Sui. Look, listen, I think, and we're bouncing off the 2-hour 200 SMA very nicely, 3-hour bullish engulfing, 4-hour candle looking very, very strong here with that big wick to the downside. I know you guys like those big wicks, Sin Nasty Kid. I know, man. I hear you. Those are big wicks. Look, you got that big push to the upside. That represents buying pressure here, and I like this little order block that I'm kind of feeling out here on the 4-hour time frame. You wick down into this zone once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. This little range is becoming an area of interest for me. Also, down here at 298, high volume node, a little consolidation range. So we have massive support beneath us and bullish divergence screaming in the face with the 4-hour stochastics reset. I think this is the hottest chart in the game. Like, if you're looking for a long long-term move. Look at this, and we may even close above the daily 200 SMA. I would love to see that for SUI here going on into the night. We'll see going on in the FOMC, and I know FOMC can bring anything right tomorrow. Look, this trade, look, gets stopped out right down here that we have at about 275 down here at this range. We'll make this red for the stop loss, right? For the stop loss. I think this is, oh my gosh, I made the text red. This is the stop loss area right here. I don't think we revisit these levels. We reclaimed a key support. We blew through resistance, right? This was resistance until proven otherwise. Once we fell beneath, we blew through it, and now we backtested it as support. We have so much support beneath us. It's just crazy to me right now. You have high volume nodes. I don't think we see 270. I'll say it. I don't think we see a 275 SUI again. I don't think we have. I think we've missed the ship for all those. I think we've missed the ship, right? I think the ship has sailed on that wave, and that wave isn't coming back. And that's just something that I'm seeing right now. My bull market predictions for SUI, I think we're going to end up here. And I know what you guys are saying. Oh, he's stinking. Oh, you know, what my grandfather used to say. He used to say, oh, you're thinking that smoke in your ears or something like that. I don't remember. It's been a long time. He's been dead a long time. But I miss him very, very dearly. All right, so here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I'm seeing for the 2025. And I know I'm hitting on SUI, guys. Drop your coins in the chat if you guys want to go over anything. But I'm going to hit SUI right here because I'm so passionate about this, right? This had one of the biggest sell-offs. This had a massive sell-off from the all-time high break at about $5.35. I think we're going to revisit the highs. I think we're going to revisit the highs relatively soon after we get done consolidating here above the daily 200 SMA. Well, why do I say that? Because if this does end up being a flag, right, which it could be, it definitely could be. We'll have to wait to see how the day closes, right? You get a little sideways consolidation action in here. You have this flag that will pump massively. Why is it going to pump massively back up to $5? I think that is very, very likely for SUI. And if we get the $5, I think some severe FOMO can kick in. Look at Solana, right? Look at Solana. When Solana cracked its previous high, right? And I'm not talking the 200. I'm talking about down here, right? You could compare this to SUI. You had a massive run up, had a major, major sell off to the downside, right? You start cracking some of those major regions, your last local high, and you could go on a trip that you don't forget, right? I think this is the kind of move that we're going to see for SUI, right? We had that massive, massive candle. I think we'll see some consolidation, and we'll continue to move. We got above the daily 200 SMA. This is kind of very comparable to where we're at right now. You're below the daily 200 SMA. You get a massive pump above it, and you get these candles. Do these candles not look exactly the same as SUI? You get that bounce off the daily 200 SMA. You could hold above the daily 200 SMA and you are A-okay, in my opinion. And then you went on the bull market run of Solana, right, from 2023 all the way up until the summer, did you not? Or yeah, 2023, in October of 2023 to December of 2023, this thing went on a 5X. I think that's very, very doable for SUI. Don't be surprised 2 months from now if we see SUI sitting at that $10 range and we're going to be looking back and we're going to be like, dang, remember when we were getting in sub 250? That's going to feel good. That's going to feel good. And for this leverage position, can you imagine getting in at 325? I'm looking forward to that day, guys, and I think that day's coming. I think that day's coming soon. We'll see that very, very soon. Look at this pump for SUI getting a massive here on the 15-minute time frame. Boom, in the last hour, a major bullish engulfing candle, engulfing the last 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours of price action. SUI doesn't care. I think this thing is going to massive highs, and I think it's coming very soon. It's going to happen quick, and it's going to catch the world off guard. The technology is insane. It is about 3 times faster than Solana. Ethereum, I think it puts in the works as well, being able to develop on a layer one on a layer one chain, and not only that, but he uses the movement programming language. I think that it has severe scalability. I think it has a severe outlook for scalability of any project. I think Ethereum and Solana, like, this could be the replacement. I'm gonna scream that until I'm blue in the face. And when we're seeing this sitting at a $50 billion market cap, when we were getting in at 10, I'm not gonna be able to do. People are gonna be on this channel and they're gonna say this. They're gonna be like, we're gonna be sitting at a $12 to $13 SUI, and people are gonna be like, boys, crypto, can you pull up the SUI chart and tell me if it's a good time to buy? And I'm gonna look in the camera and be like, no, it is not. No, it is not. Something that is 7x'd. Have you ever got in on something after it's 7x'd and then continue to make gains? Rarely. Very rarely. So I think Sui is going to be a massive player in the crypto space for years to come. It's just something that I see. It's that diamond in the rough. And I just can't get over it. I can't get over it. I think this thing's going to do some damage, and I don't think the world's prepared for it. Also owned, not just owned by World Liberty Financial, but has made a partnership with World Liberty Financial. I got to go over that agreement still, but that's insane. They got the Pokemon news coming out, the Peaky Blinders game. They're trying to dive on into the NFT space, a space that may revive when no one's expecting it. The NFT space comes back. You guys know what's going to pump. You know, Sui's going to pump. You know, Uniswap's likely going to get a little action. What else is going to pump? Hyperliquid is going to go on a massive tear. I think these are some of the best prices that you're going to see. I'm not saying FOMO, and this is not a channel for financial advice. This is just me and how I perceive the market. I have a heavy position in Sui. I have a leverage position in Sui right now as well. So I got my money where my mouth is. This thing, I think, is going to be one of the best performers of 2025. I'll get off the horse. I'll get off the Sui horse. But man, we're going to be looking back here when we're at a $15 Solana. I'm going to put a little circle in here. This is where we got into our leverage play. And this may be a play that I hold throughout the bull market. I'm telling you guys, this thing could be a monumental winner. I think the 2025 year-end prediction of about $12 is on the table. I will be taking profits here at the highs. I'll be taking profits probably around that $7-8 range. Why? Well, your fib extension levels, baby. Your fib extension levels at 766 level. I'll take a little off, maybe 10-15%, 11.30. I'll probably take half at that point. At $11.30, I'll take half, and I'll let the rest run, baby. But man, I think this thing has some serious movement to do. And it's going to do some damage. All right, here we go. Diving on into the chat. Drop your coins. PMG Corey in the Bitcoin long, 96. I'm looking to follow PMG Corey in the Bitcoin long for 96.5. Yeah, 96.5. Hey, let's dive on into Bitcoin. Did we even look over Bitcoin? Man, I just had to look at that. It's been crazy. Okay, so here's what we're looking at for Bitcoin, and we've talked about this, and we're going to talk about it until I'm blue in the face because, man, this is how passionate I am about this. We're not out of the water. We're not out of the water. I'm telling you guys, we are not out of the water, and we're not going to be out of the water until, I'd say, Thursday. Thursday after market open. I'd say Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's when we're going to be able to breathe. Until then, I will be hyperventilating. You guys are probably going to be hyperventilating tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 10 a.m., 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to be hyperventilating because the entire market hinges on a man and how he phrases his vocabulary, how he speaks in terms of, are we going to get more cuts later in the year? And to me, with the recent job data, I don't think we will. But I want to hear some optimism from him. Are people going to ask about crypto? That brave soul. The only time that I've seen the massive awesomeness out of a Fed meeting for crypto is when that brave man in the back corner raised his hand and he said, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, excuse me, sir, is the last question. He said, excuse me, can you tell me if you think it's safe to hold Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in your portfolio? And Fed Chair Jerome Powell said, yes, I think, Bitcoin has some major economic promise. That was the first time Jerome Powell came out and said, yeah, I like Bitcoin. Essentially, that's what he said. I think Bitcoin's a good thing. And that was the first time that we heard that from the Federal Reserve, which is awesome. So, yeah, even now we're getting that 95.7. Look at this pump for Bitcoin. Look at that 15-minute 200 MA. What happens when you get above the 15? You retest it. You're above the 15-minute 200 MA. You're A-okay. You tried there. You did not get that full candle body closure. Here was that first full candle body closure. You got in. You put a stop below the recent low. The stop never got hit. Retest, boom, to the upside. And now, if you look at the 2-hour time frame, just not long ago, you were feeling like, is Bitcoin going? Man, the way I look at this on the daily is if we get above that high volume node at about 96.5, this is the high volume node, the area where most Bitcoin has exchanged hands. A key area, everybody. This is the area that this is the do or die zone. If the bear market's going to start, it's going to start right here, right now. It's not going to start when Bitcoin's at 100K or anything like that. If it's going to start, it's going to start right here. That's going to be the first lower high, and we're going to go for lower prices. I'm telling you guys that because if it's going to start, it's going to start right now. Where would my confirmation bias be? Below that daily 200 SMA at about 90,730. We close any further below that, I would start getting concerned for sure. And especially if we crank below this support resistance flip. Where is it? Woo, 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 woo. Support resistance flip. Yeah, right here. Support, 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 support. You got beneath resistance. We broke above that resistance. We cranked down beneath. Yeah, I'd call it 88 flat. If we come down to $88,000 again, that could flash some warning signs to me and be like, is that the best idea? Like, is that the lower high? Because imagine if the candles looked red, green, right, like this, and we came back down here. Would anybody be feeling that 100K again? Yeah, I would doubt it. I would doubt it unless you got some miraculous cup and handle. You got up here, had that cup and handle 786 retrace down to like 83, and then got the boom. But I think a lot of that could be some pain in the space if we saw that. And I'm not going to lie to you, at that point, Bitcoin dominance would be up past 66%, and I'd be all in Bitcoin anyway, and I'd ride that puppy to the downside. I don't care. Nobody's getting my Bitcoin, baby. Nobody's getting my Bitcoin on the cheap. I'm not going to be selling down here at 80,000 being like, what if we go to 50? Why do I say that? Because I've done it before. I did it in 2021. I sold Bitcoin at $17,000. I will not do that again, right? I sold a portion. I sold half a coin. I sold half a Bitcoin at $17,000. That was one of the worst financial decisions I've ever made. And I'm not looking to make that again, right? You came down here, look at this, 17,000. This was where I sold right here. I remember this. Not till in 2022, I was in the Navy. This was where I sold right here. This is where Boys Crypto sold. And this was the beginning of my learning journey. Why'd that happen? How'd that happen? Why did I panic sell? How much further to the downside could we have gone? We could have gone lower, sure. But the market rebounded. I essentially sold at the bottom. Right? And that was horrible. And, since then, I've accumulated more and everything. And my first Bitcoin buy was at about $8,000 for Bitcoin. And, and of course, we didn't, you don't sell all of it back there. But, man, I sold a large portion of it back there, and that was heartbreaking. Why? Because if I was staring at that today, that'd be an additional 50 grand in my pocket. I'll be the first to tell you that I sold early, and I've learned to master the volatility of these markets. It's taken years, right? It's been 3 years since that time. I didn't start trading until 2023, baby. I didn't start trading until 2023. I dabbled in stocks. I was in crypto stocks and everything, going in and out, options. I was trading futures, or not futures, options contracts on the New York Stock Exchange. I was diving on into a lot of stuff like that, and I was getting wrecked. I got wrecked in my early Navy career until I developed a strategy that worked for me, that allows me to do this full time. Now, it took years, everybody, and that's why I'm here bringing this hot sauce to you guys, because I don't want you guys to make the same mistakes that I did, right? I do not want you guys to sell out early or panic sell or anything. I'm going to bring calmness to the space. I think this asset could do some major damage over time. And, coulda, shoulda, woulda. All of us that are here have made economic decisions. All of you guys can think of the worst economic decision you've made in your life, whether it's a house, whether it's, crippling credit card debt, whether it's a souped up Ford F-350 9000 that has the giant exhaust pipe that you could fit your head in, that you could rev past people and make a giant storm tornado cloud with your diesel exhaust that costs you $10 a gallon to fill up. Like, yeah, that's what it's like here in Texas. That I drive around every day, and I'm like, wow, look at all these financial disasters, right? And I don't know people's economic situation, right? I don't know whether they're doing well off or not, but there's too many giant souped up F-250s that are shining, right? That are absolutely shining, that get like 3 miles to the gallon here. I don't know what they do. I don't know what they do, but there's too many of them for me to be like, I bet some people, I know in the Navy, there were people that had $750 a month truck payments. What? Right? So yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And if you could afford a $750 a month truck payment, more power to you. But I was in we were in the military, dude. Enlisted people, the scum of the military ladder. And people were doing it. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. It's whatever. All my housing and everything's taken for, and whatever makes people happy. But man, if I didn't have what would you have done with an additional $700 a month in your pocket? I know each and every single one of you guys could say anything off the dome, But man, look at Bitcoin here. Oh my gosh, I know I kind of got a little tangent. Bitcoin just going on a towering rampage to the upside, man. Maybe I should start my stream more at this time. We immediately start the stream, and we're getting a massive pump for BTC and for alts. Look at the bubbles here over on the 4 hour. That's looking good, baby. Sui getting that rebound to the upside, trading at 330, looking very, very nice off the trade that we entered not too long ago here. Not too long ago, got it in about 326 or so. You know, trade idea, boom, to the upside. I think this thing's going to do some massive damage over time. I may even be testing on that resistance line here that we have on Sui. Drop your coins in the chat, everybody. Drop your coins in the chat, whatever you guys want to go over. I want to say thank you for each and every single one of you guys supporting me. This stream means a lot to me, man. It means a lot to me that people would come and look at my TA, you know, over other people that are sitting in the charts right now. You know, it just means the world to me, and I like the small group feel. I like the atmosphere, and it is really a privilege to be here with you guys. So I want to say thank you to that. You guys mean the world to me. A lot of you guys who have been here since the beginning, Wanda, April, Sid Nasty Kid, PMG Corey, Christoph, all you guys that are here, Michaela B, winner of the Solana giveaway. Shout out to you, Michaela. Yeah, a lot of you guys, every single one of you guys that are in the chat right now, I just want to say thank you to each and every single one of you. All right, here we go. I'm gonna refresh this chat here, baby. I'm gonna refresh this chat. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's got to be Comcast, man. I'll tell you what, Comcast is. If you guys have Comcast, get out of there. Get out of there, man. I'm saving you guys some headache. I'm telling you. No, I'm just kidding. I don't even think we have Comcast. My lady just let me know about that the other day. But she was like, you know, we don't have Comcast. We have a different one. I don't remember what it was. I was like, wow, we do? That's crazy, right? Yeah. So I was like, wow, that's a little embarrassing, right? A little embarrassing. But man, even the daily, look at that wick on I just can't get over it. I can't get over it. All right, let's take a look at something that we haven't taken a look at in a minute. Total 3, baby. So here was where we were getting in on altcoins, right? This is where we were averaging in on altcoins, and we're sitting just on right on the top of that box. This box hasn't moved, will not move, cannot move, right? I've locked it in place. If I remove that, yeah, see, it says remove locked drawings. I'll say, no, keep them, right? And it's going to be our box of remembrance. We're going to remember our box of remembrance when we're all the way up here. What am I seeing for Bitcoin dominance right now? I'm glad you guys asked. What I'm seeing for Bitcoin dominance, right? We're teetering beneath the daily 200 SMA, which is still creeping up, which is kind of crazy, right? Because you'd think averages would start to pull down by now, but it hasn't. The last 200 days, we still have these massive candles that are being taken into consideration, and these low candles, right? The reason it's still trending up is because as these ones disintegrate, right? We still have price action. The reason this line is still trending up is because, say, 200 days ago, how many days ago was 200 days ago, right? From May, back to what here? So these are the candles that are leaving the calculation, and these are the candles that are entering the calculation. So this line is going to continue to trend up for the next, month, 2 months. I'd say before we start getting that curvature to the downside, right? Especially if price action holds where it is. We're sitting at about 800 billion for all the altcoins sitting outside the top 10. Or sitting outside of the top 3. The leading coin that influences this market is XRP, which has been underperforming, right? In my opinion, it's been underperforming over the past couple of weeks. So, I think what we're seeing here on Total 3 is this juicy, man, with that box there is kind of annoying, but this juicy shoulder, head, and I think we're in the beginning of forming a very nice right shoulder. Oh! Shoulder, head, right shoulder. Everybody gets it, right? Shoulder, head, right shoulder, inverted to the upside. I think that looks very, very juicy for a massive pump on altcoins. This would coincide with Bitcoin dominance rolling over and getting back up to that $1 trillion level. Why is that level so important? Look, everybody here. Let's zoom on out here. We got to remember back in 2021, we reached the $1 trillion altcoin market cap back here. We've reached this level before. This was a double top, and we've got a retracement since then. This has the potential. I'm telling you guys, this has the potential, right? We broke the high. This has the potential to be, man, one of the greatest entry zones, I think. And this was the basis of our box of remembrance was the 618786 golden pocket retrace. We got in here, right? It fell beneath our box of remembrance, but we're always going to remember this as our box of remembrance. This 618 served as the 706 was the bounce point. The 618 served as the perfect entry point. I think this $800 billion is going to be piddly squat comparatively to when we break this high. When we break this high, when we break this high, I full-fledged believe that we are going to be bull run on, baby. There's going to be a lot of traders that just ape into altcoins. Not even traders. Retail. Where's the retail? I'll tell you what. They're not in the space right now. They're scared crapless of price action right now. A lot of them left when Bitcoin lost 100K for the last time and fell down that $74,000 round. I'd be willing to bet your friends that don't know anything about crypto, you ask them what the price of Bitcoin. The reason here's how you can tell retail interest. And this is just, hey, excuse me, do you know what the price of Bitcoin is right now? Right? And back in 2021, everybody did. Remember in 2017? I remember when it was 2017, right? And I was bagging groceries, man. I remember people being $20,000 Bitcoin. I was like, what? Right? I knew it. And I didn't even know what Bitcoin was. And I knew it. Sitting like bagging groceries. Bitcoin's at 20,000. Everybody was talking about it. Bitcoin was at 20,000, but nobody knew why. And people were getting in there. And then, the bear market started and nobody talked about it again. Bitcoin's at 60K. Bitcoin's at 100K. The news networks got on and everything. Oh my gosh, it's going to 100K. You're going to know when retail is invested, and you're going to know when retail interest is at its height. And it's when everybody's writing about it, when everybody's talking about it. And right now is not that time. Right here, for the altcoins, right here was not the time. Not the time everybody was talking about the altcoins mooning, right? And that was when it began. That was when that cataclysmic downside began for Bitcoin dominance. I think something like that is brewing. I think it's brewing, and I think it's going to pop. I call it this month. I think this month something's brewing. Something's brewing in here for this. This is going to make or break this month. The next 4 candles here on Bitcoin dominance are going to tell a story. And, after such a meteoric uptrend, I expect some kind of, once we start rejecting, if we start rejecting and play 200 MA dominoes to the downside, I think, man, and look, Bitcoin dominance just making another all-time high here in the past 20 minutes. And you got to remember that Bitcoin dominance can pump, although altcoins are dumping. And it's been kind of crazy. I want to dive into some altcoins that I think have been relatively underperforming. Let's dive into Cardano, one that pops into my head. And that question was brought up the other day. Why is Cardano struggling? The answer is I don't know. I don't know why Cardano's struggling. This thing on the strategic reserve announcement touched at 114, and now you're sitting at about 50% discount since then. 43% retracement to the downside, and you made a higher high, and then this is something you don't see often in price action. Lower low, you made a higher high. You have to be able to speculate on a higher low coming in, right? Higher high, higher low, and then you go make a lower low, right? That does not happen very, very often on price action. But with that being said, we can still say that, hey, boys, crypto, this is looking like a juicy shoulder, head right shoulder to the upside. I think that's very possible. With that being said, I don't own any Cardano at the minute. I don't plan on owning any Cardano. I just think the project's lackluster compared to a lot of other things in the space. I really do. All right, so that's a quick, brief glimpse at Cardano, and this is going to look like the total 3 chart. It really will. Why? Because it's heavier weighted on the total 3. Cardano is still a top 10 crypto, everybody. We got to keep that in mind. Cardano is to be respected at the number 9 spot. Not going to be there for very long. I think Sui, I'm telling you, I think Sui could be a Solana killer. I think this thing could be a $60, $70 billion market cap, and I don't think that's going to be a singular issue for Sui. There are a lot of unlocks that are coming for Sui. Only about 33% of the supply is out, but there's a 10 billion cap supply, and there is, with the release supply right now, there could be a supply shock based on the amount of Sui that is currently in circulation. That is very, very true, and they have a very clear unlock schedule, who it's going to, the vesting period and everything, or if there's a vesting period. I don't think there is, not for Sui. But, when the team gets their tokens, the team who have pledged to hold their tokens for years, so we'll see if they uphold by that. But, man, there's still a lot of Sui to be unlocked. That is very, very true. With that being said, I think this could be one of the best performances this bull run. We have to remember that XRP was sitting at about $30 billion market cap before ripping to 125. Even if Sui got to a $30 billion market cap, which was XRP prior to its all-time high run, or to the run up to $3, I think that's no problem for Sui. I think this thing's going to do some massive damage, and man, I just can't get over it. I can't get over it. You're done with Cardano. Cardano doesn't play nicely. Sin Nasty Kid, yeah, absolutely. Sin Nasty Kid, your shirts are going out, brother. Your shirts are going out. I actually do have them, and they're going out. What's today? They're going to go out tomorrow, man. I'm sorry. I've been kind of busy with everything. And I got another one coming for PMG Corey. Something happened with the shipping and everything. I got one going out to you, Michaela B, and PMG Corey. I'm going to drop those off at the post office tomorrow, brother. I am going to have those coming your way, man. Coming your way. I'm sorry about the delay and everything. But shout out to you for being our winner. And I'm going to get PMG Corey. Something happened with the shipping. I don't even know. But I'm going to get those shirts out to you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I got a little something extra coming for you for the delay as well, man. For the delay as well. So thank you. I got everything set to the side over there on my desk. I'm going to drop those off at the post office tomorrow, baby. Tomorrow. So hopefully you'll have those by the weekend. Hopefully you're in, hold on, let me think. It's either Michigan or Ohio. I'll have to check, but I got your address, brother. I got your address. It will be coming your way. Yeah, so Cardano, man. Cardano. You got an inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. I don't see a lot coming out of this project. I really don't. I don't see any updates. I don't see Charles Hopkins diving on in and saying anything that's really promising to the space. Even if you look at the graph comparatively, I mean, I just don't see a lot in the space going on for Cardano right now. All right, let's talk about XRP. Everybody's talking about XRP, and we're going to go over Ethereum. I want to talk about some of these top 10 coins right now because they're, for the first time in a long time, they're not all looking the same. They're not all looking the same, right? They aren't. So XRP is sitting on a level that I consider the difference between whether you're a bull or a bear. Let's get some of this. I don't even remember why I drew that. Let's get some of this in there. Ohio, man. Ohio. Yeah, I got you, man. I got you. I knew it was one or the other. I was like, I know it's one of those. And the reason I thought of it was the college football teams. I was like, I remember it being a big football team. And, you know, the Buckeyes or the Wolverines. I was like, yeah, it's got to be one of the two. All right. Here we go, man. Here we go. All right. XRP. I hate to say this. And I'm not a bear on it. Look. I'm just analyzing the charts. If this was not named up here, I wouldn't know what I was analyzing, but I'm analyzing XRP right now. So I'm going to dive on into this and let you guys know what I see, what's hot off the press. Okay, so that shoulder, head right shoulder does still exist here for XRP. However, it just hasn't been performing as well recently, and you could say it's consolidation. But to me, you're sitting below levels that I'm not very comfortable with. What levels are those, boys crypto? I'm glad you asked, random citizen. All right, here. We have that 241 high volume node. The high volume node is the area where most of the XRP has traded hands. And the bears have won once, twice, almost 3 times at this high volume node. So people clearly, there is no doubt in my mind that there is someone, something, some entity, whether it's a single giant investor or a bunch of retail, I don't know, that wants to get out of XRP at that 241 level. Where would I be interested in getting in a long on XRP? I would not be interested in getting in a long of XRP until we can reclaim that high volume node, and then I'd be comfortable looking for that higher price, a break above and a retest. That would be the only situation where I'd be looking to long XRP right now. If alt season is to start, I think XRP is going to run, but I think it's going to vastly underperform some of the other assets in the space that are sitting below their all-time highs. This thing's already been on a monumental 3-4x. While there's a lot of altcoins sitting 80-90% below their all-time highs, I think this thing's going to give some back to the altcoin market. Just my opinion. I'm not saying it can't do what Brad Garlinghouse says it's going to do. It definitely could, and you're sitting above that daily 200 SMA. Why am I nervous for XRP right now? Well, these high-volume nodes are speaking a story, and we are beneath the majority of them. Not only that, but you have these giant gaps in the VRVP that are screaming caution to me to the downside. And I know nobody wants to hear about bearish price action, but I'm just analyzing the charts and what I'm seeing from the charts. This has nothing to do with fundamentals and what XRP stands for. And tomorrow, a partnership could come out of nowhere and rip this thing to the upside. It is very true. It is the reality, right? However, I do see a slowdown in that market, and I really haven't heard a lot of news, right? I heard them trying to acquire some kind of credit card company the other day. A contract, they put in a bid, but then it got rejected immediately. The company was going to do an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange, so they wanted to go that route. So that's interesting, but I really haven't heard a lot from Brad Garlinghouse. It's just interesting. It's interesting. I'm not saying that not doing anything. I'm just saying that I would expect to hear more right now out of some developments for XRP. And you know, it's interesting, and you got to consider like how much validity that lawsuit getting cleared up. Like what's really driving price action to the upside right now? That's what I want to hear. And that's what I want to hear from a fundamental point of view, right? If we're talking about fundamentals, I want to hear why XRP is going to continue to move to the upside. You got the lawsuit cleared. That's priced in right now. XRP is fairly valued right now. Arguably, based on the high volume node, underneath the fair value. But what's driving price up? If you guys know, drop it on in the chat. I gotta know, like, what, and I know people want to put, like, oh, it's a new financial system and everything. Well, there's no real evidence to me that supports that right now. And maybe you're making leaps and bounds and going in that direction, and maybe some successful tests with banks. I haven't heard any banks. I've heard of tests. I haven't heard of results. So that's what I want to start seeing. What's going to drive XRP price in the future? Institutional adoption. I hear that institutions are testing it. Are those tests a success? Is this technology a success? Or is it a flop? I have no idea. I don't know a lot about XRP, like the intricacies of how it works. And, I really don't. But from a charting perspective, it's just looking weaker compared to a lot of the other altcoins. Just something I want to keep on everybody's radar. We have a downward sloping resistance. That is very, very true. And, I really think, is this not a 618786 retrace? It is. You got a golden pocket retrace and then coming to the downside. So it's really key you hold this daily 200 SMA. If you lose this daily 200 SMA, I think the chart's going to start looking a lot like H-bar, right? I think the chart's going to start looking like this. And XRP mirrored this for a while, right? And then, H-bar was mirroring XRP, sorry. I think you're going to see that loss to 200 SMA and a little bit of capitulation in the downside. But you need to reclaim that 200 SMA for XRP. All right, and H-bar, and any asset that's underneath the 200 SMA on the daily, I think really, it needs to reclaim it sooner rather than later. Let's look at Ethereum. Ethereum, the talk of the town. I hear it a lot on X, baby. I hear it a lot on X. This is it. This is it. This is the reversal. And what are people pulling up? People are pulling up this chart right here, Ethereum BTC. And people are saying, this is the bottom. This is it. Right? And I know people have been calling it from forever. But look at this chart on let's look at it on the weekly. Look at this. Ethereum has died compared to Bitcoin, lost 90% of its value since 2021 comparatively to Bitcoin, 80% of its value compared to Bitcoin since 2021. Ethereum, and I'm not saying it's dead. If it's going to bounce, you guys understand why we got this reaction here. It doesn't take a genius to know this. It really doesn't. Support. That's true. Support. And you came down to an area that has historically been a bounce point for ETH BTC. If ETH BTC does not bounce here, I'm calling for a $1,300 Ethereum. If this line does not hold, I think Ethereum will bleed, and I think that will redistribute the top 10. I think XRP can likely start creeping up and taking that gap from Ethereum. I think Tether could be ahead of Ethereum. We dropped the $1,300 on Ethereum. Ethereum's in trouble. I'll put that right out there. Ethereum is in trouble. If you're an Ethereum investor and you hold Ethereum, you have to be concerned right now. I'd be concerned, you're at a key support level, and you can say, boys, crypto, this is a cup and handle, but cups usually don't retrace 100%, right? Cups usually don't retrace 100%, and that nasty curvature is looking very bad. It's getting worse. Look at the pitch of this. If this was flipped upside down, that's a parabolic move. This is a parabolic move. And will you have a blow off top? Sure, you can. But until this parabola gets broken, right, and you start getting that massive, in this case it'd be pumpage, but dumpage, right, from an inverter perspective, if you get that pumpage, that could be massive for Ethereum. That would be a double up on Bitcoin. But if you don't, the risk is insanely high right here. For Ethereum, if you're getting into Ethereum, any kind of Ethereum position right here, I congratulate you on having some of the biggest balls in the universe. Some of those balls that got hauled around on South Park, in the wheelbarrow. You guys know what I'm talking about. But that's the kind of sack you'd have to have right now to take a long on an asset that has bled 80% against Bitcoin over the past, not just, since January. It's been bleeding since January. Believe you me. I mean, this chart evidently so. But it's been bleeding since 2021, right? Ethereum has not made an all-time high against Bitcoin since December 11th of 2021. That was the high. Since then, if you got out and you were in Bitcoin, you were in better shape. Just in general, you're in better shape. Very, very interesting. MH, which is he bought more? VRH. Shout out to you guys for being here, man. I appreciate you. Anyone have any plays you're looking at or gems? Yeah, I'm not looking at any gems right now. Not in this. Hey, MH, you're okay, man. You're okay. I appreciate you being here. What's going on? MH, you didn't miss much, man. Okay, you did. But feel free to rewatch, man, and make sure you hit that like button. I appreciate you. We've been talking about the pending altcoin season here. We talked about a lot of the coins in the top 10, diving on in. And, you know, this bounce that we've had, this has been a major bounce. We talked about our long that we put out here on X a little earlier today at about 326 for Sui. You know, where's Sui sitting right now? At about 331, so up a little bit on the trade, right? It did dip and rip. This is going to be volatile. I'm telling you guys, I'm going to tell you guys right now, and this is honesty. Today, and between today and tomorrow, the choppy price action you're going to see over the Asian session is going to be insane. Don't let it keep you up. Tomorrow's the day, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is what we're going to be looking at, right? I don't care about the meeting. The meeting is going to be, yeah, we're not cutting rates, right? The market's priced that in already. It's very, very clear. And there's essentially a 0% chance of a cut. If a cut happened tomorrow, there'd be a pump, unlike you guys would believe. But odds are no change, and that will be in alignment with what the market expects right now. Almost a 99% chance of no change. Here's what we're going to be listening to. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, guys. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is going to be the key. The key. It's going to be the biggest press conference of the month. He's the most expensive voice in the entire world, and that is going to dictate the overall direction of this entire market. And I'm talking everything. I'm talking about our Sui trade, right? Sui sitting at 335. Hey, shout out to you guys. Any of you guys who jumped on into this thing. We got in about 326. We had that little dippage. It was crazy. We had that massive bull div. We had crazy bull div here on the 4-hour time frame. And you know, this thing looks to pump to the upside. Look at that beautiful look. We'll get this out of here. This bull div, man, I think is super strong here for Sui. You had that swing down on price action. Well, you had that beautiful swing up. Anytime you see bull div on these bigger time frames, you're more likely, you look at the 4-hour and you're like, okay, that's valid, right? You see bull div on the 1 hour, you're like, yeah, right? Like, you know, you can see it. Okay, you see it a little bit here and you dipped a little further. Okay. Now the 2-hour, well, you have a little more validity there. And it's like, okay, 2-hour bigger time frame, 3-hour bigger time frame, 4-hour bigger time frame. The bigger the time frame and you start seeing these bull divs is the more That's like me being like, hey, you got to take this more seriously. It is no joke when you start seeing these big time frame swings with bull div, right? Right, so that's what I'm seeing here. Sui on the daily looking very, very good. I think this could be a potential flag here. I think it can be, or a Livermore cylinder. For those of you guys who don't know what a Livermore cylinder is, it's when you have, it's essentially a bull flag, but with a descending support line. It will get very volatile in here in a Livermore cylinder, but the breakout will be that much more intense. Our stops down here at about 275. I don't think that's going to be touched. I think those I'm not going to say the sub $3 days are done for Sui. But I don't think we see below 275 again. I'll make that clear. Let me see 275 here. I'll even put that in a little text box for you guys. I think that was it. No lower, says Boys Crypto. And why do I say that, right? I think everybody's waiting. I think everybody's waiting. Oh, I want Sui at 280. I want Sui at 260. Why weren't you getting in when we were getting in at the Box of Remembrance in our total 3 area? Why was nobody getting in here, right? A lot of the fear, right? But we had what? We had massive bull div here on the daily. That move to the upside was insane, and you've never looked back. That bull div is nothing to be reckoned with. So that's what I'm seeing here. I see bull div on the 4-hour creeping up. I think this thing could get us moving very, very quickly. Don't be surprised if tomorrow we're sitting at about 350, 360 Sui, right? Going on into the FOMC conference, and I'm not saying it's going to hold there by any means. I'm saying brace for volatility. I think it's coming here in the near term for Sui and for a lot of the altcoins and for Bitcoin as we go into arguably the biggest press conference of the month, baby. All right, MH wants to look at VRA. Yeah, man, let's dive on into VRA. Wishing he bought more of it likely means it's a little higher. Goodness, brother. Goodness, VRA taking a monumental screamer to the upside. We had this in the flag. I don't remember when we drove this out, but we had this in the flag. This was back in Thursday, May 1st, right? Oh, about a week ago. Had this in the flag, speculating on continued price action to the upside. Got that retest and boom, you never looked back. Hit the target and went further. Look at that, to the upside for VRA. Let's see, man, you got to look at this on the higher time frames. Cracking above that daily 200 SMA. I'm telling you guys, when these altcoins start moving, right, it's going to be, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to be like, where's the fair value? And you can say, oh, the fair value's down here at 24. I don't know if you're going to see that again. Not after this kind of move. You're mirroring something like this, right? And of course, I highly recommend having an exit plan, right? But you're above that key support, flip resistance. You got above that. That's likely going to be, this is confirmed support right now down here at about 24 cents. So I don't see you going really any lower than that. Or maybe a retest of that. That'd be your golden entry point if you're looking for a long. But right now, would I long this? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do this. I couldn't long this right now. You could look for a continuation trade on the smaller time frames, but man, this is treachery. This is treachery. I'll take an example right here from the 15-minute. That's a 17% down draw in just a couple hours. That's not something I'm looking at getting into a leverage trade right now. I'm looking at a bigger swing trade on some of the altcoins I see more promising right now. I think that's the best strategy for me and my portfolio at the current time. But VRA, man, hey, shout out to you getting in at these prices that were down here. Even if you just got in 2-3 days ago, you're almost a double up, man. If you got in 4 days ago or so, you're about triple up on your money. Shout out to you. VRA moving monumentally to the upside, getting above that daily 200 SMA. I'd love to see this close here. It looks very, very likely that it closes above this daily 200 SMA. And then for me, I would look at the same. This looks very similar to SUI. I would look for a blow off. You're going to have a blow off at some point. Not a blow off. I want to say it like that. But you're going to have a period of consolidation, right? I would speculate if you're bullish, a flag, maintain above the daily 200 SMA, maybe sweep liquidity, come back above it. Okay. Or if you're really bullish, you could get one of these. You can get one of these flags that forms on the. This is how bull markets start, everybody. This is how the alt season starts. And you know when people are going to start buying VRA? It'll have that consolidation period. Everybody will have that time. They'll be like, oh my gosh, like I'm waiting for better prices. And then it's going to rip again to the upside, and people are going to FOMO in up here. And that's where people are going to start buying in. This is where retail will start getting in. It'll travel a little higher, and you will have already been positioned from down here. That is the idea behind alt season, right? You want to get in before everybody's getting in. VRA taking a screamer to the upside. I don't even know. Is this even in the top? VRA ranked 612. So I will say this. It would be nothing. It would be nothing. It would be a flea farting for this coin to 10x. Like, in order to 10x, what's 330 million? There is nothing in the top 100 that is under $330 million. Nothing. So to get up into the top 150 cryptos, that would be the equivalent, right? If it were to take the 145th spot or something or push up here from 600, you would be looking at a 10x at where you currently stand on right now on VRA. That's important to understand from a market cap perspective, right? Why? Because this has the potential to do it, right? There are coins that aren't going to that may 10x over the course of this. I think SUI has a potential maybe to 10x to get up to that $100 billion market cap at the blow off top point. I think that's very, 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 it could happen. I think that's very, very likely. I think it could definitely happen for SUI. But I know I keep talking about SUI, man. I just can't keep harping that to you guys. That's the coin I'm gonna shill because I think it's I'm not gonna shill it. I want to use that word, right? That's the coin I'm recommending, right? And again, not financial advice. Entertainmentally recommending. I just think that thing's gonna do some massive damage this bull market, right? I really do. But VRA, the reason I say this could 10x so easily is because it could get up to the 145th ranked crypto and still be outside the top 100 and do a 10x on your capital. It has the potential to do that. The market cap is small enough. I think that could definitely happen for Veracity. And I don't even know what's going on here. If you want to learn more about the token, what's the ticker here? What's the ticker for Veracity? VRA. So if you want to learn more about a coin, come on over here to X, VRA, and then you can see it, right? You'll click on here and you can see the top, right? The latest, everything. You can follow them, right? I'll give them a follow here. Veracity 2025, to the moon. Everybody talking about 200x. People will say some ridiculous numbers. I mean, but this one could, right? What would a 200x be, right? You call out your calculator, right? Pull up your calculator. You're at a $30 million market cap. Could you 200x times 200? That'd be a $6 billion market cap. So it would be half the size of SUI. That would be you could 200x. VRA can 200. I'm not saying it is. I know nothing about this project. I have no idea if it has that potential, right? I don't know what the unlock schedule is. I don't know how many coins are vested. I don't know. But what I am saying is that, like, people post charts and everything on here. Yeah. If you got up here, that'd be a 3,900%, a 39x. But this thing can This thing can 200x from a market cap perspective. Hey, shout out to you, man, for finding that diamond in the rough, right? It's been tough the last couple weeks for crypto, and VRA does not care. Screaming to the upside, an altcoin that is truly shining above the rest. VRA, baby, VRA. I appreciate you, MH, for dropping that on in. Let me make sure I didn't miss any chats here. Didn't miss any, right? We went over Sui. We went over the altcoin season, whether I think it's starting or not. Nasty Kid Long and Sui, man, I hope it works out for us. I think the long's going to play out. I really do. Sui at 317, 35x, was looking for a nice scalp. Hey, man, you're in the big money, baby. You're in that money, especially on 35x. That's some high leverage trading, in my opinion. And, man, you got that juicy move to the upside out of, man, what am I in the 600s right here? Yeah, so you can see that right here. Like, even as you have a pump on Bitcoin, right, you only pump, 0.5%, right, the average in the last hour. But you get down here 1% in an hour, that's crazy, right? On the 4 hour, I bet you can see it there too. Yeah, some more volatility that's down in this range. Actually, the 1 to 100 actually stuck out right there, so that's interesting. But yeah, man, I think Sui can do some massive damage this cycle, and like that could have been you never know. That could have been the bottom right there, 310. This is the hottest asset in the game, in my opinion. And I think this thing's going to do some massive damage this bull run. And I'm happy to be here with you guys, sharing that knowledge and telling you guys that, man, this is where I think this thing could do some massive damage. If you're taking from the wicks right there, I don't like that as much. But, yeah, I think this channel is going to end up playing out. Channel, flag, however you want to call it here, right, for Sui. I think this is a massive flag that will massively likely pump to the upside with reset stochastics on the 4 hour, the daily coming down very violently. And this speaks to it too. Look at the daily coming in the oversold, and you're holding up here. You're holding in this range. That is key when you see stochastics resetting, right? Stochastics resetting, holding higher prices, higher lows. That's where you want to be. That's where you want to be, baby. So, yeah, hey, shout out to you guys that are jumping in on that Sui trade with me, maybe. This is going to be a juicy one. And there's going to be some there's gonna be some some rockets, right? There is going to be some volatility in the next 24 hours. So if we're sitting at 3:20 tomorrow in the morning or 3:15, don't come on X and be like, "Boy, Crypto, I listened to you. I was in with you, and then you let me down." I'm telling you, there's likely going to be some volatility tomorrow morning. Nasty Kid, man, I highly advise you manage that as you manage your juicy trade, man, that you got in down here, man. That is juicy to the upside. Shout out to you. You're above the 7-minute 200 SMA. You're above the 5, the 7, the 15. We are getting rejected currently by the 15-minute 200 SMA. Stochastics are a little cooked. Let's see if we get that curvature to the upside and we can reclaim that. Reclaiming the 15-minute 200 SMA puts 350, 360 on the table for Sui as we go throughout the Asian trading session, which opens in just a few hours. All right, so diving on in, VRA is 15% staking. Hey, Code on. Hey, I appreciate you jumping on in the chat, man. Yeah, we'll take a look at XRP. We did take a little glance at XRP a little earlier in the video, but I will happily dive on and do it for you again, man. Thanks for diving on in the chat. I appreciate you being here. Make sure you drop a like, my brother, and subscribe to the channel. I'm live as many nights as I possibly can be here on this channel, just dropping a fresh TA for everybody. I appreciate you. All right. VRA is 15% staking. That's cool, man. Yeah, there's some projects out there that have some massive staking percent. Some of the ones that come to mind are Jupiter, Aerodrome. What are the ones? Solana has decent staking. It's okay. But Aerodromes are pretty crazy. It's like 20, 30%, but you have to lock it for years, right? So that's pretty wild. You guys find me a bank. That gives you 15% interest. They're not going to. They can't do that. If they did that, if the banks gave 15% interest, they would never make money because they just put their money in the stock market. Anything that you put in your savings account, right? The bank just puts in the stock market and makes, and that's how they make their money. It drives me up the chain. All right, so Code on. I don't know what chart, I don't know what chart you want me to look at, man, as far as the time frame goes, but I'll break this down for you on the daily and I'll show you what I'm seeing. Dry uvula, man. All right, brother. So I haven't seen you before, but for your knowledge, There is a very simple way that I trade, right? I use the 21 to 200 bull div, and I use Fibonacci pools. That's what I use. The first thing that I see looking at this chart without doing any technical analysis is noticing that I'm above the daily 200 SMA for this asset. That's a check mark. That's a good sign. The 200 MA, the 200 simple moving average, the average of all the past 200 days, you're above that. So that's a good sign for XRP. As you go throughout the past, you can see you're above the 200 SMA, you're looking good. You get below, you're in trouble. You're above, you're looking good. You get below, that's the bear market right there. You get above, it looks good, you're holding, you get a pump. You get below, you're in trouble. So that's the way I trade, man. It's just something I look for long-term swing trades. If I get into a long, on any kind of asset, I'm usually above the daily 200 SMA unless it's a scalp. It's just a reality. It's just what I like to look at. All right. So I'll give you a bull case and I'll give you a bear case, right? Bull case, you have the inverted shoulder, head right shoulder here for XRP. And I'll kind of go through this a little faster than the others because I have hit this a little earlier, man. But it's your first time dropping on in the chat and I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. All right, so here we go. We got that shoulder, head, potential right shoulder here for XRP. I'm going to give you the bull case first and then I'm going to give you the bear case and you can make your kind of informed decision for that. Just for full disclosure, I do not own any XRP. I have a little XRP on a ledger. I do not own a lot of this asset. I understand what it does, but I'm looking at the technicals, man, not the fundamentals. What Bradley Garlinghouse is doing behind the scenes and the White House. I think he's on the crypto council, right? He may be the head of it. I don't know. But yeah, he's on the crypto council, the advisory council for the White House, which is super cool. So I do see the shoulder, head right shoulder, stochastics resetting on the daily. That says, hey, boys, crypto, we may be looking for a pump here soon. You could get a little bit more of a pullback. You may dip below the daily 200 on a wick or something, but the daily 200 was respected today. Look at that, down to the dollar, coming down, almost touching that daily 200 SMA, and you're getting that reversal to the upside. So could a pump come for XRP? The answer is absolutely. A lot hedges tomorrow, man. The entire crypto market hedges tomorrow on what Jerome Powell says in this meeting. So very, very important. So you got that shoulder, head right shoulder, looking to go to the upside, stochastics resetting, looking very, very good. You did have that juicy bullish divergence that did kick you up to the upside. Let's see if that momentum can stay intact for XRP. So that's what I'm looking at for a bullish case for XRP. I will say this. I do not. It is imperative to me, and for me and my entire trading thesis for everything that I do not want to close a candle below this red line that is sitting at about 207. Don't want to do it. That would be the first warning sign to me that this idea may be invalid, right? So that'll be the first warning sign for me. What is the bear case for XRP? Well, I'll give that to you, and I applaud you, man. I know a lot of people who are in the XRP army don't like to listen to the bear case, but I want to put this on your radar just so that you're aware of the risks that are in the asset right now. Do I see a pump coming for XRP? I think it's definitely possible, especially if we get some dovish news from the Fed tomorrow, right? But in the event of a downturn, I do see a little more risk to the downside with XRP than a lot of other coins in the space. Why do I say that? Well, these giant gaps in the VRVP are just screaming to me, man. They're screaming to me. They're saying, hey, not a lot of XRP was traded here. This movement right here was likely induced by a lot of short squeezes. And whether that was brought on by institutions buying in and deciding to, getting those people to get stopped out. But whenever people get stopped out on the short side, and XRP had some of the biggest short interest in the market prior to this macro move that we had back here in November, it left a lot of these giant gaps in the VRVP where that have not been tested, right? So you could argue, oh, boys, crypto, we did retest here, right? That this was resistance, flipped to support, right? Okay, I could get on board with that, but these gaps in the VRVP are just screaming to me. And not a lot of other charts are seeing these big gaps in the VRVP, with the exception of HBAR, XCN, and XCN's filled a lot of them, but HBAR notably. So that's what I'm looking at for risk to the downside. I do not want to close that daily 200 SMA, and we do have a little bit of a bearish 618, 786 golden pocket Fibonacci that did get hit here. That 786 did get a little bit of front ran, but yeah, that would be where your next lower high comes in before you go to achieve lower prices. So to me, it all boils down to this 200 SMA, this red line, man. You stay above it, you're cooking with butter, baby. You're cooking with oil, whatever the phrase is. You have to stay above that red line for the daily 200 SMA. It's just what I've always used as a trader to determine my bias, right? We fell beneath it. That was some major trouble. you fall beneath this, and that would put heightened risk, right, as well to the upside. Whereas the biggest resistance I see in the near term for XRP to get over, even if we broke out of that inverted shoulder, head right shoulder, right here, the high volume node, we could see the bears won once, they've won twice, and they've won at this level ever since back here at about February 24th. This high volume node represents the most amount of XRP that has exchanged hands. And so far, until proven otherwise, the bears are in control of this region up here at about 243. What I'd like to see in my personal trading strategy when it comes to XRP, if I were to take a long, I'm not taking the shoulder, head, right shoulder. That would be the more risky scenario. And you could do that. You could put a shoulder, head, right shoulder long here with a stop beneath the daily 200 SMA on a high leverage and say, hey, boys, crypto, this is where we send it. Okay, good luck. That's a little more high risk, but with greater risk comes greater reward. That is true. Just use good risk management. However, where would I be looking along XRP? I would be waiting for this shoulder, head, right shoulder breakout to break above this zone and a retest of this high volume node. I want to see that the bulls have reclaimed support here at about 242. To me, that would be conviction to me that we are going and destined to look for higher prices here for XRP. If we can reclaim that zone, that would look very good. By that time, the daily 200 SMA is going to be up there. I'll use that as a shield, as a stop loss, and ride this to the highs, baby. Where do I think XRP could go in the event that we do get an all-time high breakout? Well, I'll pull my Fibonacci extension here from swing high to swing low in the event that it's a, if this happens, then this, right? If we do crack those highs, I see a 1.618 target of about 451 and about 636 for the 2.618. Those are potential price targets in the event that we did get that blue skies all-time high breakout for XRP. I think that could happen. And I think that could happen in the near future in the event that the macroeconomic environment does turn around and we start getting some better news out of the Fed and Bitcoin starts moving. We know XRP is going to move as well. So very interesting. I don't think Bitcoin is going to moon and XRP dump is what I'm trying to say. But I am saying this, if Bitcoin dumps, I think XRP is going to take a little bit more of a harder dump just based off the gaps here in the VRVP. So that's my bullish and my bearish scenarios for XRP, man. I appreciate you diving on into the chat and letting me know what's up about maybe your favorite coin, XRP, man. I don't know if you're in a long or a short, but I wish the best to you, brother. And thank you for joining us here on the channel tonight. All right, drop your coins in the chat, everybody. I want to go over a couple more altcoins before I head out of here today. I appreciate you guys diving on in. I'll shoot out on Twitter if I am wow, Bitcoin cranking 96,000. That's kind of crazy. Let me get my channel up here. Beep, 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 beep. All right. Yeah, so, hey, we're caught up on the chats, everybody. Drop your coins in the chats if you guys want to go over anything in particular. Let's go on over into Bitcoin and take a peeper here on the smaller time frames. Wow, cranking 96,333. This is it, everybody. And, no one is expecting it tonight. Everybody, resting, chilling with the family, eating dinner, and Bitcoin's testing the high volume node here. If the bulls can crank through here, this is the ball rolling down the hill scenario that we talk about all the time on this channel. You get some candle body closures above here. The likelihood of us just rolling here off of this channel is very, very, very high, right? Massive volume coming in here. Let's pull up the volume chart. I want to see what this looks like here for Bitcoin volume. This is getting very, very exciting. Stochastics resetting on the daily. Isn't that crazy to see daily stochastics down here at the oversold level as we're approaching up here? That is wild. The RSI looks ready to go. Bitcoin's going on a tear. Look at this 1 minute time frame. The 1 minute time frame is screaming to the upside. Bitcoin going on a rally, baby. Checking bubbles. Anything popping out. WorldCoin. Sui screaming to the upside. Looking good. Virtuals on the hour. Fetch. Fartcoin screaming the epitome of my existence. CRO, Aave, and a lot of these coins getting some serious love here, even just in the past 15 minutes, as Bitcoin goes to take this high on the daily, baby. Look at this daily candle. This closes in 36 minutes. This will be an incredibly strong close. Let me see if this is going to be a 3-day close. Is this going to be a 3-day close? It is the 3-day with a massive wick to the downside on the 3-day. That shows incredible strength here for BTC. I want to see us get above the high volume node. The high volume node. Look at the volume. The volume's looking okay, right? We've had about the same amount of volume the last 3 days, right? Or Sunday. Oh, that was on the 3-day. Hold on. Let me look at the daily. The volume on the daily, the volume is rising, and the bullish direction, we're coming up to that overbought territory. And for people who are scared of the overbought territory, you can't be. We're pushing 97. We're pushing 97. We're getting above that high volume node, the 4-hour time frame, looking to crack the high that we made just back here on Friday. Nobody was expecting this. Look at this pump a lump for BTC, ripping to the upside, catching it here on the stream. We start the stream and Bitcoin goes absolutely crazy, racking in about $2,200 here on just over the course of this stream. We started here, when did we start here? At about we started here just at 1800, right? 1800 military time, 1800. We started here. Everybody jumped on into the Bitcoin, everybody jumped on into the boys crypto channel and it was like, oh my gosh, we're bullish on Bitcoin. And then we screamed to the upside. Yeah, so it looks good. It looks really, really good. I want to see this daily candle body close. I think I'm going to keep streaming. I have to. There's a real chance. I'll tell you guys this. There is a real chance right here that if we crack this high volume node, we start gapping up, and the next gap is sitting at $101,000. This closes in about 34 minutes. If we could close above this high, that would look for massive continuation for BTC. You could say that this was a flag with a failed breakout, right? A failed breakout of the highs, and we are currently breaking out right now. That would be an insane candle for BTC. This could be the beginning of something that is much greater, right? And is this foreshadowing something that is to come here for the Fed, for the fair interest rate? Go Sui go! Go Sui go is right! Go Sui go is right as on the Binance. Yeah, 334. Go Sui go is right, Sin Nasty Kid. Let's go, man. This looks good. This looks good. We're getting a little bit of consolidation right here. Responding very, very well to Bitcoin. And, on the 1 minute, it's going to be a little tighter, man. It's going to be a little tough. But you can see a little bit of a flaggeroonie forming here. Potentially, if we get a little tight in this zone, we could go on another ripper for Sui here. And this is very fast. This is very fast, right? This is no joke. Right? This is no joke. This happens very, very quickly. A little bit of flag consolidation, and you're really bullish. We could push up to 350 for Sui, and we could do it here in the next 60 minutes or so. It could happen. It could happen. And is this daily candle? This daily candle is going to close massively. We were just at a bearish engulfing candle not 20, 30 minutes ago, and now we are screaming to the upside for Sui, sitting at about 334. Looks good, man. Looks good. On the 4-hour, you can really see some of these coins picking up some strength. WorldCoin, CRV, Fetch AI doesn't care, says I'm going to the moon, baby. Litecoin with the ETF likely to be approved this week, according to Polymarket. If that comes in strong, if Litecoin, let's take a look at Litecoin. I don't even remember what chart we were looking at before we dived on into this stuff. Maybe it was Bitcoin, I don't remember. But Litecoin with a massive bullish engulfing candle right here looks very, very healthy for continuation. This is not only a daily, is this a 2-day candle close too? This is a big close, everybody. This is a 1, a 2, and a 3-day candle close coming here in about 32 minutes. It looks really good. Looks really good. You close your scalp on Sui out at 343. Sin Nasty Kid, congratulations on a monumental scalp, brother. A monumental scalp. Yeah. So these movements are going to be very, very volatile. If you're a small time frame trader, hey, if you take advantage like Sin Nasty Kid on 35x leverage, you can make some really, really juicy gains going on into the night. MH, I see you, brother, with XDC. Don't know much about XDC, but let's dive on in, man. Let's dive on in. Let's look at it on Bitfinex. An exchange I got to check out. I got to check out Bitfinex, man. I hear people saying some pretty good things about Bitfinex. All right, I drew this fib. I don't remember when I drew this, but not long ago. All right, so is Tasmanian Devil. So look at this. Wow, was that a scam wick? I hope so. Was that a scam wick? Look at that. A 70% drop. That might have been a scam wick here on TradingView. I don't know. But hey, here we go. Most likely you didn't get that kind of drop. Was that in the third? No, it wasn't. Okay, so it wasn't part of that capitulation. That was the mass capitulation event. Interesting. All right, so XDC. Let me get rid of this. And look at this in a little cleaner way. So the first thing I'm noticing, right, even on the smaller time frames, XDC not... That's why I looking at the perpetual futures charts. All right, MaxC. Interesting. So XDC really not responding too good, right? In my opinion, right? Just based off of a glance. We're not responding too good. with this Bitcoin pump right here, right? With this Bitcoin pump, a lot of altcoins, right? Lackluster pumps and bigger dumps. You don't want to see that for the altcoins, and hopefully Bitcoin dominance is starting to turn around. We'll do a little dive into that, and we'll see how Bitcoin dominance is doing. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it's still screaming to the upside, because Bitcoin's up what 1.5%, and do you guys think the average here is greater than 1.5%? On Ondo up at 86.30. I don't know. I don't know. I could not say so for sure. I could not say so if I do say so myself. But yeah, so this could be a bear flag, or this could be your golden pocket opportunity, right? I would view it as more of a golden pocket opportunity. Why? Lower high, lower low, 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 lower high, lower low. Still a lower high, right? And then you eventually made that higher high. This would be where your first higher low is likely to come in here on XTC. So what do I want to see on XTC? Well, besides being underneath the daily 200 SMA, probably by 1.5 miles. Where is it on XTC? Okay, it's not even, you don't have the inception of that yet. So the 4 hour, okay, looking okay. Where's the highest time frame? The 12 hour, okay, sitting pretty substantially above you. So not that bad, actually. A little better than I thought. So on the 4 hour, you're looking good out of a market structure shift. This is where you got to reverse here, right? If you don't, and you're beneath the 4 hour 200 SMA, you could see some more downside. But you did make that first higher high on the daily time frame and on the 4 hour time frame. So this would be where your first higher low likely comes in. You have that nice cup handle, and that's where your higher low is likely to come in. You could even put a stop below about 69. I would put 69.86. That could be a really nice juicy move here for XCC. Based on the candle size, it looks like it could take some time to play out. But based off of the cup and handle, you could be going whoop. Where's my paintbrush? There we go. So you can be looking at it like this. This is the cup, and this was your handle right here, coming down into the 786. Now, what would this look like? This would look like a target coming up here out of a break of the cup and handle of about 75 cents right there. So that would be a pretty decent 3-to-1 risk-reward ratio trade. You got two big wicks to the downside, right? And you did have some massive bearish volume right there, but, I'm not going to give that too much credit, especially with Bitcoin turning around here and you being in a golden pocket. It looks okay to me, man. It looks okay to me. I would say this. I would say if I was looking at getting into a long, I wouldn't be interested in this right here just because of the lackluster pump you've had here. Like, Bitcoin started mooning and you really didn't get that much of a reaction, not even 1% here on XCC. Just didn't look as strong to me, man. Doesn't look as strong to me here in the near term. I really do hope it works out the best. I really do. Is this going to be a flag here or a shoulder? You could say, hey, this could be a shoulder, head, right shoulder here. Inverted shoulder head and a right shoulder that cranks you to the upside. Very, very possible. Just not something I'm interested in looking at getting into a trade right now with, man. But yeah, that's XTC in a nutshell. Yeah, on the daily, let's see what the daily is looking like. You've been dumping for a couple of days. Are you coming back down to a key level from your swing low to swing high? That's coming back to a 1-to-1. Let's pull it from here. So that's coming back to your 618. Almost, you may have gotten a front run of the 618 right there. You do have the potential to dive a little deeper into this golden pocket. Maybe a 786 retrace to 64 cents. To me, it's a little tough to call, man. I'm just gonna be flat out honest with you. When I think something's tough to call, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys. Nothing has to happen in trading. It's just probabilities. And right now, if you're speculating on that 618 holding, now could be a good time to get into a long. You have a giant gap in the VRVP here, which would indicate a squeeze potential. You are sitting beneath some high volume nodes that are likely to give you some trouble. So I think there's just some stronger things in the game right now, man. That's just my honest opinion. Much love, and thank you for dropping that on into the chat so we could dive on into it together here on the stream. Thanks, man. I do like the stochastics being reset. It could definitely play out to the upside. It just does not look as strong to me. And let's see if this thing has a dominance. No, it does not. No, it does not. But yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I appreciate you dropping XCC on our radar, brother. On our radar. Pepe about to rip. Nostalgic. Welcome, brother. I appreciate you being here. I saw Pepe. Or was it Pepe or PP? Or Pepe, not PP. There was P-I-P-E-I. There was this one I saw was doing some crazy damage, over the past couple of days. Let's look at Pepe, baby. Pepe, the hottest meme on Ethereum. Something that I think has you guys know how I feel about meme coins. I'm not a meme guy, right? I'm not a meme guy. Shout out to people who make money in memes. It's just not my thing. However, there are a couple memes that I think are here to stay and are here for the long haul. What are those memes? Dogecoin, the number one meme coin, and I don't think it's going to lose that spot anytime soon. Pepe, I think Pepe is going to be here. It is the number one meme coin on the number one altcoin. I don't think that's going anywhere. I think Floki is here to stay. With the exception of those three, I think a lot of them are, I don't see them revisiting their highs. I think Pepe has potential to revisit the highs. Absolutely. I think it really does. And I see kind of an inverted shoulder, head right shoulder forming here. You have a lower low, right? Lower high, lower low. And then you have a first, that's not your first higher high, but you know, in the micro on the 4 hour, that was your first higher high. That was your first higher high. And then you made your higher low. Higher high, where's your first higher low likely to come in? At the 618. And you can pull that from a couple of different areas. But to me, I'd like to pull from this zone right here, that reaction, and you came down to the golden pocket perfectly. Came down to the golden pocket, holding above the 4 hour 200 SMA, which has held you up, you know, ever since back here, mid-April. That looks good to me, man. That looks good to me. Let's look at this a little cleaner. So, yeah, if you do get this shoulder right here, the shoulder, head, right shoulder for Pepe, the reason I like it so much is because it's slanted. Why do I like shoulder, head, right shoulders that are a little more slanted? It could take some time. I'm not going to lie for Pepe. It could take some time. Here on the daily, it can take a couple days to work out. That's true. But if you're looking at catching this right shoulder, this may be the area. That could have been the bottom right there, that wick. That is very, very true. Got bought up all throughout the day, and especially with this Bitcoin pump going on in here. Oh, man, so a little struggle here on the 5-minute time frame. That's okay. But, yeah, Pepe looks good. The target for this inverted shoulder, head right shoulder, though it is slanted, takes you all the way back up to that daily 200 SMA. And everybody who watches this channel knows, baby, the difference between me being a bull and a bear on a project is being above this red line. You lose this red line and cannot close a full body candle back above it, you're in trouble. And that would have saved you from the cataclysm that was Pepe's downfall, right? That's true. But now are you looking at a potential reversal? The stochastics on the daily are saying, yes, this is likely to be your right shoulder. The RSI is sitting beneath fair value, beneath that 50 mark. I like this, man. This looks very, very good from a technical analyst perspective, man. This looks really, really good. Inverted shoulder, head right shoulder for Pepe to the upside. Something I like to do. Whenever I'm looking at something, I'm like, would I long this? Would I long this? I flip the chart. You can invert the chart here. And would this not look like a beautiful shoulder, head, right shoulder to the downside? You can invert charts. I honestly never really look for shorts. When do I look for shorts? I always look for longs. I'll invert all my, let me get rid of the volume here. That's kind of throwing me off. I'll invert all my charts and I'll just look for longs, right? And if I could find a long, that means I'll short, right? On an inverted chart. It's just something that helps me mentally because I hate looking for shorts, man. I hate it. I hate looking for shorts. I like looking for longs because I'm overall bullish on a lot of these coins, right? So I'll always look for longs. If I want to look for long or shorts, I just flip the charts. I flip all my indicators. I'm like, okay, where are the longs coming in? It's just something I like to do for practice and something that I really enjoy doing when I'm looking for shorts. Not a time to be shorting Pepe. I will tell you that out of this inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder, looking to go to the upside from the current area right now. That shoulder, let me make that straight there. The shoulder, head, right shoulder can lead to substantial gains on Pepe of about 61%. And I'll tell you this. There's a lot of meme coins that I don't think can perform very well. That's true. With Pepe, it's a different story. When this thing decides to move, it can move violently. It can move not only fast, but violently in about a week, 222%. Look back here and, back in February of 2024, this in just a couple of days, up 488 days, 5x. This thing can move and it has the ability to squeeze massively to the upside. After all these shorts were opened up, I can tell you where people opened up shorts, baby. You opened up shorts here right above the daily 200 SMA. You probably opened up shorts at these highs, that's for sure. And there's definitely shorts sitting up here in this high region. The short squeeze potential is there for Pepe. And I don't know what the short interest is, but if it's high, if there's still negative funding rates on some of these altcoins, on some of the meme coins, man, you could get a squeeze to the upside like you've never seen before. And Pepe will likely be one of the ones that moves more so than a lot of the other coins in the space. Why? Because it's been beaten down off its highs of what, 66%, 80%, right? Something that a lot of the meme coins share in common. Just absolute devastation. 71% off the highs. When these memes reverse, we saw it with virtuals. When these things, these higher cap coins that could do some massive damage in the space, I think Pepe, Dogecoin, and Floki, I think those memes are here to stay. I don't think they're going anywhere. And I think when you get that right shoulder, you could see an upside. And I think it's going to happen very, very violently and quickly for Pepe, where it's going to catch everybody with their pants down. Shout out to you, brother. Thank you for putting that on our radar. For those of you who like to trade memes, this looks like a hot setup in the game, baby. Shoulder, head, right shoulder. If you wanted to get into a long right now, if you were like, yeah, boys crypto, I think that's the move. Higher risk setup, it would be a stop beneath that wick. You could go below the 786, or you could go beneath the head, which is where I would like to go, right? If I was getting into a long-term swing position here. And where would I be looking to take profit? Well, you know, on Pepe, right? If you're looking at a lower, this was your first, did you come down? You came in, you made a lower low. So where would your lower high likely to come in? I would expect some kind of reaction at the 618. So up here at about 19.5. Right, so that's where I'd be looking at a bigger swing trade, bigger swing trade idea right here out of the shoulder, head right shoulder coming up, speculating. You could take, you could take 25% off the table when you stop to break even at the daily 200 SMA, which is likely going to give you resistance and is going to be the target of your inverted shoulder, head right shoulder. And, you have that bearish 618, 786 golden pocket Fibonacci, which is likely going to give you at least a little bit of a reaction. I'm not saying Pepe is going to stop there, but if people are going to come in and start shorting the asset, where are they likely to step in? At that key zone, right? At that key zone where the next lower high is likely to come in. If there's going to be a lower high formed on Pepe, the people speculating on that, opening up shorts, leverage trade positions in that zone, right? That's where you could capitulate. That's where you could capitalize on, okay, there's going to be a little bit of a cool off, take your profit, and then look for a good re-entry point out of what would be a beautiful cup and handle situation, right? Maybe bouncing off that daily 200 SMA. That's how I'm foreseeing the market here for Pepe going forward. Again, Pepe is going to be heavily influenced on Bitcoin, baby. Bitcoin makes the bounce. Bitcoin dominance makes the dump. We get a little bit better news on the FOMC tomorrow. We could get some serious pumpage in this space, everybody. We could get some serious pumpage in this space, and I'm not calling for altcoin season, but my money's positioned more so in the altcoins than in Bitcoin right now. Not more so in the altcoins. I have a heavier position in altcoin than normal right now because we're sitting at that golden pocket 618, 786 retracement here for Bitcoin dominance to the downside out of the inverted cup and handle that we've been tracking here on the channel for a very, very long time. So that's something that I'm keeping track of, this inverted cup. And you got the handle, baby, coming up to the 618, 786 golden pocket Fibonacci retrace to the downside. So that's what I'm looking at for Bitcoin dominance here. Let's look at Bitcoin dominance on the smaller time frames to see if this pump gave us any clues to see as to whether, and it's still pumping, baby. So that 786 is going to be the key region, right? It's not only the resistance zone, right? Not only the resistance zone of this trend, right, out of the inverted cup and handle, but the 786 golden pocket retracement from the previous altcoin season beginning back here in December of 2020. So that's what I'm tracking here on the weekly and the daily time frame. So yeah, it's very clear. Let's dive on into this on the smaller time frame. Bitcoin dominance making all-time high after all-time high after all-time high for the last two, not all-time high, but for the past 2 years, high after high after high. Just in the last 15 minutes, in the last hour, Bitcoin dominance is still continuing the moon, suggesting that the money in the market is still flowing from altcoins into Bitcoin or from Tether into Bitcoin, depending on how you analyze it. How else could you analyze that? Well, you could look at total others dominance, right? So you did get a massive pump on others dominance, right? You hit a low here at about 759. Now you're at about 769. That could be a very, very nice bounce zone here. That wick was pretty nasty to the downside. You're sitting on key support right here for others dominance. If altcoins are going to rally, now's the time, especially outside the top 10. You got to get a bounce here. Why do you have to get a bounce here? Because you're sitting at lows. You're sitting at arguably, right, going back. This is a key zone, accumulation zone, dump, accumulation, resistance, got above, support, came back in, this was like an accumulation zone, dump, you got back above, pump, support, came beneath, support. Now you're in accumulation zone. Now you need to get that pump for others dominance. If you don't get it here, and I'm talking about the daily candle right here. If you start dropping beneath here and start closing daily candles, I'd say below 750, others dominance could be in serious trouble. That is very, very true. So it's imperative Bitcoin dominance starts rolling over here to the downside if you want your altcoins outside of the top 10 to at least be able to keep pumping with Bitcoin or at least outpace Bitcoin. What's going on, my love? Hey, good morning. Hey, how are you? And welcome home. All right. I know it was a little gay, so nasty kid. Don't make any don't troll me, brother. All right. So, yeah. All right, diving on into the chat. PMG Corey, what's going on, man? Hey, I don't know what happened to your shipping order. I have absolutely no idea. But what I will tell you is I got another shirt coming out for you tomorrow, man. I got you, Nasty Kid, and Michaela B going out tomorrow. So shout out to you guys. I appreciate you guys participating here on the channel. You guys are absolute legends. All right. PMG Corey, it's been a minute since I've seen you, man. I appreciate you being here. Nostalgic says, I'm thinking break that zero might take a while to break through. Yeah, Yeah, that is true. That is true. Pepe, new subscriber, nostalgic. I appreciate you being here. Just going on over the chat. Thanks, man. Hey, PMG Corey. Yeah, hey, I appreciate you, man. No big deal. No big deal, man. I got a stock here and everything. And yeah, we're good. We're good. No stress. No stress. But we got that coming out to you. I did not forget about you, brother, and our shipping difficulties. I don't know if I got the address wrong or whatever, but maybe I wrote it wrong on the dang on the package. But I am going to double and triple check that this time. Very, very important. Very important. All right, so here we go. Here we go. Heaviest coins in the game. Heaviest coins. So my heaviest coin, 80% of my portfolio. I'll tell everybody this. It's in Bitcoin, baby. It's in Bitcoin. It has to be, right? Now I got 20% of my coins in altcoins right now, and the heaviest right now being SUI. That is my number one holding for the altcoins, and for the alt season. I think SUI is going to massively outperform. What am I holding SUI for? The technology for SUI, great. In the long term, great. I don't care really. I think SUI is going to massively outperform, and that's what I'm going to sell. And what am I going to do with that? I'm going to sell, right? I'm going to sell when retail interest is at its high. I'm going to sell in $12 range, $15 range, $20 range when I think we could get there, and I think we can for SUI. And then I'm going to rotate that into Bitcoin, and I'm going to have more Bitcoin because I held SUI vice Bitcoin over the alt season, right? On what I think is really, really looming right here. So SUI being my number one holding. Render coming very, very closely behind that. Render, I think, is going to be one of the hottest plays in the AI. Number three holding Virtuals. I think Virtuals is going to do some massive damage in space. Virtuals absolutely mooning over the past couple of days. And, getting a little bit of a pullback today, no big deal. But Spot, man, this was the time to get in. We were calling reversals for Virtuals here, scalping a little bit, and then we went to the absolute depths. But, I think Virtuals could do some massive damage, looking very similar to SUI, getting that retest of the daily 200 SMA. Would not be surprised to see it pumping here with Bitcoin on the 5-minute time frame, playing that 200 MA dominoes. You guys know how we like to play that game here on the channel, baby, and I'm advocating like this is a great time to get into SUI. That would be one of the hardest questions, in the Virtuals, that would be one of the hardest questions I've had to answer. Here's why. Because when these coins take off and they crack their high, like when these coins start taking off again, I think if this ends up being a bull flag, and I know a lot of people are like, I'm waiting to get back into virtual. Why were you not investing in Virtuals this entire period? Like, you've had bull div, massive bull div here on the daily. Why were you not investing in here? Oh, I want to get in Virtuals at about $1, $1.12. That's what I'm seeing on X. And I'm like, why are you looking to get in when we've had these big bullish divergences flashing on the daily? I don't know. I don't know. I fail to understand that, right? So right now, you did pull back substantially from the high. What was that pullback looking like? About 27% from the high. So that's a standard pullback, right, for crypto, and a little bit generous for the altcoins, right? A little bit less of a pullback than you see for altcoins after they go on cataclysmic runs. But if this does end up being a flag here above the daily 200 SMA, which it would take time to fill out, man. This could take until, this could take this whole month. Virtuals could ping pong around here this entire month. It's true. And then break out to the upside. We may never see these prices down here that people are waiting for. And the market likes to do what the people least expect it to do. So just interesting. Just very, very interesting. So Virtuals, another one of my big holdings. I do own a little bit of SEI now. I purchased some of that the other day. What else did I buy the other day? Yeah, those are my top. I think those are my top four. There was another coin that I have in there. What else do I have? I have a little bit of Cardano as well. Cardano, and I have Chainlink. Chainlink's also in the mix. I've reduced my Cardano and Chainlink position just off of weakness. I took the bullet. I have a little bit leaving the run, but I started to lose faith in those projects. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's just I'm shifting the money towards the fastest horse, if that makes sense. So that's where my money lies, man, in the altcoins. But that's just 20% of my portfolio. I will reiterate that. All 5 of those coins, 6 of those coins are just 20% of my portfolio, and I don't pay much attention to them, right? That's why I focus on Bitcoin so much, because I know if Bitcoin's pumping, it's likely all my altcoins are pumping. If Bitcoin's dumping, it's likely all my altcoins are dumping a little harder. I'm trying to position myself in the coins that I think are going to massively outperform this season, right? SUI dominance, right? If you want to look at SUI compared to the rest of the market, what is SUI BTC? I'm interested in that. SUI BTC, up here testing the daily 200 SMA, 21 coming into price action. Let's see if this could get a little bit of a bounce, right? I'm looking at altcoins that I think could massively outperform Bitcoin here in the near term, just to add to my Bitcoin bags, man. My long-term goal is just have a couple Bitcoins sitting on the ledger and then never mess with the altcoins again. That's my goal, man. I just want to hold Bitcoin. I'm just using altcoins as a tool, right? And sure, some of them can massively outperform Bitcoin over the next 10 years. I don't know if all these altcoins are going to be here, but what I can tell you is that Bitcoin will be. I think Bitcoin will be, and that's what, and I'm hedging my retirement on it, right? My retirement account is all Bitcoin. I have 100% of my retirement account in BTC on iTrust Capital. That's it, right? So I am on this horse, baby. I am on this horse. It's not in XRP. It's not in Ethereum. It's not in any of the other altcoins. My retirement account is 100% Bitcoin. So I'm riding this puppy. I'm riding it till the end, baby. Something I think could be a multi-million-dollar asset. And you know, that in and of itself, with how much money I got in our retirement that I accumulated while I was enlisted in the Navy, baby, will turn into multi-millions of dollars, where I think that this price is where the price of this asset is going to go over the next 10, 20 years. So very, very interesting. All right, so let's dive on in. Hey, I appreciate you guys for diving on in the chat and lighting it up. If you guys haven't, do me a favor, hit that like button. I really appreciate it. I want to say that more often. Hit the like button. But I appreciate you guys hitting that like button and supporting me, man. I appreciate you guys. You guys are absolutely awesome. Yeah, Corey, I saw Sin Nasty Kid posted about your long earlier. Shout out to you. That awesome rip to the upside. Nostalgic says, wow, Litecoin. So why is Litecoin pumping, baby? Well, Litecoin's likely getting a lot of love. Even here on the 15-minute time frame, we went over it just a few minutes ago. Not a few minutes ago, maybe a half hour ago. Yeah, getting a monstrous move to the upside. Litecoin. Why is Litecoin doing this? Because based off of poly market odds, it looks like that the ETF is coming. It is, the odds are based off of poly market, right? And we know how that market works. The odds are Litecoin ETF comes this week. It looks like it's in the final stages of approval. If that does get approval, you guys know what happens when, you know, that allows big institutions to start getting in and riding these waves. A lot more money than you, me, and, you know, Joe down the road has to put into these assets. And, you know, I don't know what kind of percentages people would be willing to allocate towards Litecoin, but even a small fraction of a percent towards Litecoin. Arguably, if Bitcoin was gold, people like to think of Litecoin as silver, right? You know, quote unquote. I don't necessarily like. I don't really get along with that turn of phrase. But Litecoin looking good off the bounce near this 4-hour 200 SMA. Looking a little strange, right? You don't often see higher highs followed by lower lows, right? Higher highs and lower. You don't often see that in the charts. That's something we talk about, right? You don't often see that, right? A broadening wedges right here. Those lead to very, very parabolic moves in the event that they do break, and you are getting that move here, even on the 5-minute. Look at that cataclysm to the upside for Litecoin. You get above that 5-minute 200 SMA, and you went on a ride, a 12% ride in what? Not even that long, baby. Not even that long. About 5 hours and 50 minutes. That's awesome. That doesn't happen every time, obviously, when you get above the 5-minute 200 SMA. 21 coming up in the price action. The daily candle bullish engulfing in just the past, you know, 4 hours of time, the past 4 days of price action. Looks like it's going to come up and test this daily 200 SMA at least, and you're getting over the high volume nodes right here. That could have been the reversal area for Litecoin. Not something that I hold. I do not hold Litecoin. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't hold Litecoin. I have no idea. I don't know. Something about the project. It's not that I don't like the project. It's just I think there are faster horses in the game. Not necessarily this week. If you're looking to go in and out of something, Litecoin may be the play this week. If this thing does get an ETF approval, you could see a very hard spike in price, right? I expect a blow off top kind of candle, right? One of those, what do you call them? What do you call it? Oh, man. Come on, brain, work with me. What do you call this kind of candle? Let me think. Shout out if you know in the chat. Hold on. I'm thinking. Doji. No, not Doji. What in the world? Candlestick to the upside. Moon. Hold on. Moon. Can't think of it. Some kind of moon candle or whatever. Yeah. But this is this is indicating a blow off top kind of, like if you got a candle that's looking like this, right? Anytime you get a candle that's looking like that, it is, it's not looking like the best, right? Let me see if I can find an example here for Litecoin. No, not really here. I mean, there's a small, yeah, something like this, right? I would expect something like this, right? Like this kind of candle, that's kind of bearish right there. Like whenever you have a giant wick to the upside, same thing when you have a giant wick to the downside, like right here, right? That could indicate some kind of reversal. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But I think Litecoin with the ETF approval is going to do relatively well this week, especially if for some miracle, I don't know why we're getting this pump right now. Does anybody know why we're getting this pump? If there's something serious in the news, something serious, maybe somebody made some kind of announcement. Let's hit latest. Latest. Nope. Don't know what that is. Nope. Okay, I have no idea why that's. Yeah, nothing I'm seeing on X right now. Very interesting. Very interesting. Short squeeze to the upside. Short squeeze. Interesting. So, yeah, that's something that get rid of that. That's something interesting. Yeah, why do people post that in these kind of tags, man? That makes no sense to me. But yeah, a lot of coins I've just been searching. It's just cool to see things that are on Twitter, what everybody's saying and what kind of news comes out. That's the fastest way I get news, man, is on X. It's super awesome, super helpful. All right, diving on in. We got Litecoin. Yeah, Litecoin leaped hard. Popcat looking to pop too. Popcat, baby. Let's pull up Popcat and see how that's doing on the charts. Popcat, one of the hottest memes here of 2024, went on a cataclysmic run to the upside. I remember everyone was talking Popcat. Ran a lot like Chill Guy, right? It just reminds me of it, like the chart layout. Since then, retracing massively. And, you guys know how I feel about memes. 93% retracement to the downside. I don't think they're going to zero right now. I don't. I think a lot of them will, but it's going to take time, right? It's going to take time, in my opinion. Maybe Popcat becomes one of the hottest memes in the game, and it's clearly shown dominance comparatively to the other memes that have been released here in 2020 over the course of 2024. So I'm seeing a little bit of a bull flag here form on Popcat. Looks like it can pop. Popcat looking to pop with reset stochastics on the daily. The RSI looking good. You have a little bit of bear div here on the daily. Not something I'd be too concerned about with reset stochastic RSI though. Playing 200 MA dominoes. Looks like you broke the 1. Yeah, you got that nice flag. The 1, you're sitting above the 2. You broke the 30, the 15, the 5, the 3, the 1. Man, this thing could go running at any moment. It really could. You're above all the major 200 SMAs, and you're testing a key resistance line. Oh, on the 4-hour, this looks a little cleaner. Let's see here. Let me get this out of here. 4-hour looking a little better for Popcat. Yeah, I'd like to kind of redraw my flag there. So that looks pretty good here for Popcat. You could take a conservative or a bigger flag pull right here. Looks pretty good for Popcat for continuation to the upside. Stochastics are a little cooked on the 4-hour, but violently pointing in the upward direction, suggesting that a short squeeze is likely to come. You crack that high, man. There's shorts all up in here on a lot of these memes, and to get that short squeeze going on, I think is very, very likely. Popcat looking to move here tonight. The meme coin looking juicy going on into the night. Looks like one of the hotter setups in the game when it comes to the meme coins. A massive bullish engulfing candle on the 4-hour that closes in just 3 minutes. Look at this on the daily. The daily closes in 3 minutes. The Bitcoin continues to push. This thing looks like it wants to move here off of this high volume node. Let's see here. Yeah, so Popcat looks good, man. Popcat looks good. A 4-hour or daily flag, 4-hour flag looking good with the stochastics reset on the daily, and the 4-hour pointing violently in the upward direction. Looks good to me. Looks good to me for continuation. Even here, I see a little bit of this. Do you guys not see this here inside the bull flag? A shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. Looking very, very good for continuation out of this flag. Inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder. I know it's a little sloppy, but it looks good to me. Whenever you form those double bullish, so you have a bull flag with a bullish pattern, shoulder, head, right shoulder, inverted to the upside. If we flip this upside down, and the green candles were red, would everybody not be screaming short right now? Shoulder, head, right shoulder, bear flag to the downside. That's just for perspective, right? If you would short this, why would you not long this, right? So that's something that, you could do, and do your own risk, do risk management, do your own due diligence and everything. I'm not saying long everything after this massive pump that we've had on the 5-minute, but I am saying I would wait for some kind of consolidation, some kind of flag before jumping on in if you're looking at using leverage. But man, some of these coins look to move throughout the night. Crypto Bubbles agrees. Even in the past hour, Litecoin up 6%, does not care. moving violently, even on the 4 hour. The daily's still red though. Isn't that crazy to see the daily red, right? The daily is still red on the day from the past 24 hours. And the 4 hours looking like that. That looks juicy. Sui consolidating about that 334 level, man. That looks good. That looks good to me. Let's dive into Bitcoin real quick. Just want to take a quick peek at Sui. Gotta look at my altcoin. Yeah, let's dive on into Bitcoin, man. Let's dive on and see where this thing is sitting. So can we go further? Absolutely. Let's look on the 1 minute and see what we're given. All right. So on the 1 minute, right? If you're trading the 1 minute, this is dangerous. I'm telling you guys like trading on the 1 minute is like, trading on the 1 minute. I'm trying to compare it to something. Trading on the 1 minute, I can't even compare it to anything. For those of you who have traded on the 1 minute before, this is crazy, right? It's hard. It's fast, right? And some people trade on the 1 second chart. I'm like, woo! How do you do it, right? So I like trading on the bigger time frames a little better, right, for swing trades. So like, look at just as that. This is why I say that, right? On that, look at that shoulder, head, right shoulder that formed, right? Looking to break to the downside, and then you get a singular 1 minute candle bullish engulfing to the upside. Could this be a flag now? It changes so fast that my brain does not have a minute to wrap around it. So could this be a flag here? Yes, absolutely, right? This could be a flag that pushes us further to the upside. You get a further push to the upside with everybody, and this is something I'm speculating on right now with this pump. Have any of you thought, right? And this is just drop it on in the chat. What do you guys think about the FOMC tomorrow? If everybody's bearish, would people not have sold out already? Right? Of their favorite asset or their favorite, why would you wait for tomorrow to sell? That just seems like the dumbest thing that you could do. Right? If you're thinking of waiting for tomorrow to sell, right? I'm going to wait until we get no interest rates, which is like almost 99.9%. If you're looking for that look at that. We had the daily candle close just now, opening green, baby. Opening green and pushing. That's crazy to me. That's awesome. I love to see that for Bitcoin. And that to me looks like, unless we could get a retest. We could get a retest, but to me, that was a bull pennant right here. A false breakout back down inside the pattern. The 21 coming up in the price action. We could definitely get that retest, right? We could get that retest and then move retest out of the FOMC tomorrow and then move higher. Don't be surprised if you're staring at $100,000 Bitcoin tomorrow, right? We just moved $3,500, right? $3,500 in the last 4 hour, or in the last, 4 hour time frame? Yeah, in the last 4 hours, we moved about $3,500. We are less than $3,500 away from $100,000. It could happen. If anything could happen, we're nearing the days. I'm telling you guys that some of these coins, and if Bitcoin pumps 10% in a day, remember the days when Bitcoin will pump 10%, Ethereum will pump 25 to 30, right? And the altcoins will pump 50, 60, 100%. I think we're nearing those days again, right? Right now on the daily, we're above that high volume node. That is exactly where we want to be for the daily. Is this the ball rolling down the hill scenario? It looks like it to me. We're above the high volume node. The bulls saying, I don't care about FOMC tomorrow. Or is this big institutional players saying, I know something that you guys don't, right? Going on into an FOMC meeting. Or is this a short squeeze? I don't think this could definitely be a short squeeze, right? But you're getting above key levels. We've reclaimed that support resistance flip. Resistance. We tried to get above it there. We got above support. So many ideas rushing through my head right now for Bitcoin. Is absolutely crazy because I'm getting a little bit of the itch. You guys know what I'm talking about. That FOMO itch, right? For the guys, you get it, down underneath the back of your sack. And I'm not going to do that here on the live, right? Unless you guys want me to. But yeah, it looks good, man. The weekly looking really, really good here for BTC. Look, I think all-time highs are on the horizon. I'll say that. We hold this high volume node here, throughout the night, or if we get a massive pump, up to $100,000, $102,000, that's when I'll it's kind of a little bit of bass backwards, right? That's when I'll be a little bit of caution. I want to see this get pushed above and reclaimed in some way, shape, or form, right? Pushed above, reclaimed, and then look for that bigger move to the all-time highs. This could be the move, everybody. I'm telling you guys, right, over the next couple of days, keep your eyes on the charts. We'll be live here tomorrow. To break down the hottest price action. Let's dive on into the chat. I want to give a shout out to you guys who joined a little later. Hey, PMG Corey, appreciate you being here, man. It's nostalgic. Thanks for the new subscribe. You're an absolute legend, man. Thanks for diving on in the chat. We hope to see you tomorrow here on the live as well. Ponky, yeah, let's dive on in. Gravestone, Doji, PMG, yeah, Doji candle. Yeah, why do I keep Why do I keep saying, here, I got to look it up. It's called something. It's like it's a shooting star. That's what it is. It's a shooting star candle. I was like, it was itching me so bad. I had to know. All right, so here we go. Ponky. Yeah, yeah. PNG Corey said, "Oh, you talking about trading on the 1 minute? It's like dodging a train." Yeah, absolutely. Ponky. Yeah, let's dive on into Ponky, man. I'll take a glance. Let's do it. All right, so Ponky on the perpetuals. So it looks like we called out this little bit of divergence here. We did get a reaction off that. That did end up following through. I don't know what this line is for. No idea. But let's clear this up and get some fresh TA. That was a long time ago. Good night. Okay. Ponky showing the same kind of deal that Popcat is, that a lot of the other, not Popcat. What was the other meme we looked at earlier today? We looked at something else that looked like this. Can't remember off the top of my head. Short-term memory loss. But the inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder that is slanted. I love that, man. I love that. You get an inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder that's slanted. Why? Because when this resistance line here is sloping upwards and you get a breakout, you could take the target of the head from the breakout point, which sits instead of right here at the head, it sits higher up here. So that brings your targets much higher when the inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder is slanted. So that looks good to me. Potentially forming right here, and you can pull a fib. Where would I pull my fib from? You could say from this reaction candle right here. If you want to pull from the low, you do have a little bit lower to go. You're getting a 0.5 Fibonacci reaction. I would like to take it from this reaction right here, and that would be a 786 bounce off of the golden pocket. That does look good to me. Shoulder, head, right shoulder for Ponky to the upside. Flip this upside down. Does not look like something that would scare the crap out of you. Would you guys long this? I wouldn't long it. That would be a shoulder, head, right shoulder staring at you in the face. And for anybody that would long that would be a gutsy call. To the downs after such a major move, shoulder, head, right shoulder, bearish pattern. That's a reversal pattern if I do say so myself. It looks really good. Shoulder, head, right shoulder to the upside. Looks for a massive pump for Ponky. And these memes can move, man. I'm not a meme guy, but that's an 89% pump. Nothing in the top 100 is going to pump 89%. I'll tell you that. Not in a very quick amount of time. Not in a day. Not in 2 days. But Ponky has the potential to do it. Let's see what this move was from the bottom here. That was a 70% pump in 2 days. You're not going to see that in the top 10. You're not going to see that in the top, hardly the 100. So very rare to see. But Ponky, baby. Ponky looking, what is this ranked right now? Ponky at 463. Gotta love that image right there. The little monkey with the smile. Hey, hey. But, yeah, it looks good. Inverted shoulder, head, right shoulder, Ponky to the upside. Looks really good with reset stochastics. I don't want to see those stochastics get pinned. The RSI sitting at fair value, so it looks good to me. Checks all my wickets. And, you're sitting pretty far off of... Oh, wow, this came out not too long ago. Where's your highest time frame? 200. Yeah, you start cracking above that 12-hour 200, which has been holding you down. That would look very, very good for a massive squeeze to the upside for Ponky. I think these memes could really, really move and make a massive squeeze to the upside in the event that we get a dovish day tomorrow, which I think is rare. I will say this. Though there's no chance of a rate cut tomorrow, and I'm putting this on everybody's radar, there's no chance of a rate cut tomorrow. That's what the odds are. It's like a 99.9%. But that 0.1% is there. And the time that comes to mind is Japan last year had a rate cut, a 50 basis point rate cut when there was no projected rate cut. That caused their equivalent of the S&P 500 to rally. It was between 15 and 20% in a single 24-hour time period. In the event that we were to get something like that, and Donald Trump does have influence on Jerome Powell, in the event that we were to get that, and economists, nobody's saying that there's going to be a rate cut, but they're wrong sometimes. In the event that we do get that, you'll see a pump like never before. And I think if you got that kind of news out of the Fed, I think you'll see over $100,000 Bitcoin tomorrow, no questions asked. In the event that we got that kind of move. All right, yeah, 97% chance of no change. So why hold back? Makes no sense. Yeah, man, I totally agree. Right. So if we get no change, yeah. So the market's pricing that in. So the market's pricing in no change, and Bitcoin's moving right now. How's the S&P futures looking? S&P futures moving up to the upside here. Let's see. Yeah, that's a move. Man, what was this? 1,800? A move to the upside for the S&P of almost 400 points. That is pretty massive. Forming a high and tight bull flag here. You could get some movement here on the NASDAQ futures. And let's see what that looks like on the daily. You could come up and test this daily 200 SMA. We got a daily 200. We got a daily bullish engulfing candle. Looking to test that daily 200 SMA. And in the event that we got the reversal and you got about the daily 200 SMA, you had that high volume node at 21.1 and then 22.2, and then you're at all-time highs again for the NASDAQ. Could it happen? Absolutely. And in this environment, I don't know how it would happen, but it could. You know, any day we could get a resolution on those trade talks. Deals made is something that's going to cause the market to pump. That's causing a lot of market uncertainty. That was the reason behind gold's massive rip to the upside. Where is it? Good night. Gold, baby. Gold ripping to almost an all-time high today. Had an all-time high daily candle close yesterday, minus the wick that we had back here on April 22nd. Shout out to you guys if you own gold. I do own gold. I own silver. I think these are some massive assets that are going to do major damage over time. Why? Because they're never going to stop printing money, man. They're never, ever going to stop printing. Why do I hold Bitcoin? They're never going to stop printing money. Why do I hold Bitcoin? Why do I hold gold? Why do I hold silver? Because those things historically have maintained their value, right? And I'm not talking about Bitcoin, because it's a little too early to say. Arguably, Bitcoin's a better version of gold, and I believe that to my fullest extent. But look at this. Ever since we debased from the dollar back in before I was born, gold is pumped to the upside and has not stopped and has not let up. This is looking like a parabolic Bitcoin chart. Does it not? So I think gold can definitely go up and test $4,000 or $5,000 this year. Like especially if we start cutting rates later on in the year, we're just going to print money, man. And gold's going to get more valuable. But you could look at it like this. For that same gold ounce, you need 3,000 of our US dollars. Back in COVID, you needed 1,800 of your US dollars. Back here in 2008, where is it? Back here in 2008, you needed 750 of your US dollars for that same coin. So it perfectly illustrates the devaluation of the US dollar. I needed $750 for this coin. Now I need 1,000. Now I need 2,000. Now I need 3,300. The dollar's continually losing value. And you can see that here on the DXY as well, the strength of the dollar comparatively to other currencies. US dollar index looking very, very bearish here, falling beneath the daily 200 SMA and flagging out. That looks like a bear flag. That looks like the reasoning. Let's see it on the 15-minute. Oh, you got a little bit of a pump there. Interesting. But yeah, on the daily, bear flagging out here. That looks like great concern for the US dollar, right? That to me says, hey, show me the charts. I'll show you the news. A dump for the DXY tomorrow or the next couple days, 5% dump. That would cause all risk on assets to rally, the stock market to rally, everything to rally. You're cranking below. You're testing some support levels that you haven't tested in a very long time. And, could you come back? Could you be looking for a deeper correction on the dollar? I would say yes. To that 786 down here at 94. Could it happen? Absolutely, for the US dollar. So you got to look at this. This is inversely correlated with risk on assets. You start dumping, baby, and risk on assets are going to start pumping to the upside. And that's kind of a little skewed here with the trade war. I think people jumping in on the other currencies that are looking a little stronger than the dollar, but the DXY looking to dump. Historically, for risk on assets, that's a good deal, baby. That's a good deal. That's a good thing for anybody in a long, bad thing for anybody in a short. That's for sure. All right. Diving on into the chat, baby. Diving on into the chat. Thank you guys for being here. Gravestone Doji. Yeah, I never heard it called that. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. Depending on where you are in the world, it's kind of crazy. Like I used to call radiator a radiator because I was up north, baby. I was up north. Pennsylvania, Yankee, yeehaw. But, yeah, crazy. It's like a dodge. Yeah, BMG Corey talking about the 1 minute chart. Let me refresh the chat here. I appreciate each and every single one of you guys diving on in here tonight. We've been hitting it strong for the past couple hours, and I think that's going to be it for me for the night, baby. Let me make sure I don't have anything in here that you guys wanted to take a peek at. Where would I look for a retrace on Popcat? Yes, investigate. Absolutely, man. That's going to be the last thing I look at for the night, guys. So Popcat. That's going to be the last thing I take a peek at for the night. So for Popcat, I'm not looking for a retrace right now. I'd be looking for a break of this bull flag, brother. I like if you shoulder, head, right shoulder, looking to break to the upside right now, looking good. If you're a breakout trader, that's where you're getting in, putting a stop beneath here. I'm not really a breakout trader. I'm more of like you can on the continuation, but I'd rather get in the bottom of flags, vice the top. Just the risk is a little better, right? The risk reward is a little better. And a shoulder, head, right shoulder, looking to move to the upside for Popcat. So for a retrace, if you're talking about, I'll give you two scenarios, Sineskin. So on a retrace, right? let me get rid of all this, right? So I would take a fib pull from this reaction right here, right? And you could argue, oh, boys, crypto, this is the reaction you should pull it from. I could get behind that, right? And you need to arguably get I like this one right here. I like this one right here. Why? Just because it sticks out more to me in the chart. It looks like a very, very clear level of resistance and a clean area where I could pull my Fibonacci from. So from swing high to swing low, a bearish retrace would bring you up between 50 and 60 cents. So you do still have about a 20%, 30% move to the upside before Popcat does get there. That's a bearish retrace that I would look for. So if a lower high is likely to come in, right, and we are going to change market structure, if that's true, right, you'd be creating, and you know, based off of these daily candle, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, for a deeper retrace, then right here, Sin Nasty Kid. Whoop, 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 whoop. Then right here, I would look for a deeper retrace, man. I would look on that Fibonacci pool. I would take it from one of these pools right here, go up to wherever you top out from, and then look at the 618786. So that'd be coming on in here. Say we pump to 61 cents, right? Up to 61 cents. That's about 61 cents right there. I would look for a pullback. So I would take this fib from this zone right here. If we are to get this breakout, and this is how I would play it, man. This is how I would play it. If you're looking for higher highs and higher lows, I would just wait for this to break out. Wait for it to top out, right? And then you know where the likely higher low is likely to come in at that 618 or the 786. And you could layer limit orders in here if you wanted to, right? Coming back to that higher low, and then speculate on higher prices, right? And you do have that daily 200 SMA that's coming down. That's going to serve as resistance as well. So I don't think Popcat's just going to absolutely, you know, I couldn't, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Anything could happen, especially with these meme coins, higher risk trading, right? With meme coins, I think it's just higher risk, but greater risk, greater reward. For sure, these memes can move like nothing else. Could you get a massive, massive short squeeze to the upside? Absolutely for Popcat. But in general, I'd be looking for a higher, you made a higher high, a higher low, higher high. And this is a bull flag, right? Continuation. So could you even not get that higher low and you could just flag out, pump like XCN did back in the day? Yeah, absolutely. So those are the kind of scenarios that I'm looking at, man. I'd be looking for a retrace, get a higher high, higher low, and then look for higher prices, or look for another flag to form out with the stochastics resetting. How do I know whether to look for a flag or for a Fibonacci retrace? It's in the stochastic RSI, man. If the stochastic RSI is coming back and you see some bigger, deeper candles, you're looking for that Fibonacci retrace. If you are seeing a flag kind of form out here with the stochastics resetting, right, on the higher time frames, which would be the daily, right? This would be the flag here on the 4-hour time frame. On the 4-hour time frame, but the stochastics are reset and ready to go on the daily, that's when I'll be looking for a continuation trade. And that 21's coming up to support price action. Looks really, really good. And 3 white soldiers for Popcat. If the daily candle closed where it is right now, that looks juicy, man. That looks juicy. Going on over to crypto bubbles, we got green all the way across the board here. Oh, that's the 400 to 500. How are we looking here? Looking insane, guys. Looking insane going on into the night. Take it with a grain of salt. Take some breaths. Take some breaths, everybody. Take some deep breaths. We're not out of the water yet. We're not going to be out of the water yet. Ondo, man, just, you know, I cut the trade and man, we're ripping to the upside. That's kind of tilting. I'm not going to lie. But, man, yeah, looking very, very, very good here on the hour. Sui looking good. 334 Litecoin with the topper on the hour up 6%. Tomorrow going on into the FOMC is going to be the key area. The key time to pay attention to the charts and see what our outlook is going to be on inflation and future rate cut. We know tomorrow the likelihood of a rate cut is like almost zero. If we get the rate cut, yeah, it would be insane. But we're going to look tomorrow at hints and tones. We're pricing in 2 rate cuts by the end of the year right now that I'm tracking, right, based off Polymarket. And that's kind of skewed, right? Because that's the most likely, but that's at like 35% right now. So something 3, 5, you know, that's kind of all over the place. So we're looking for clarity on that number. If there's going to be more, it's going to be very bullish for markets and risk on assets. So that's what I'll be tracking. Going on in here into the night. King Hell says Bane incoming. Hey, I appreciate you diving on into the chat, brother. End of the stream here for the night, but I appreciate you diving on into the chat, man. Thank you for being here. That's where I look for a retrace, Sin Nasty Kid on Popcat. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at. Thank you guys for joining me tonight here on the Boys Crypto Show. I see a lot of these alts getting ready to pump absolutely massively, right? A lot of volatility expected between now and when Jerome Powell finishes speaking. And I would even go as far as to say around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. And I'll be bringing it to you guys here live around at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow night on the live. I will see you guys then. Until then, much love. Thank you guys for joining me here tonight on on the live stream. Until next time, until tomorrow, I will see you then. Boys Crypto is out, baby. We are out. Much love, and I will see you guys tomorrow on the live. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Enjoy your Tuesday night.